Hello, everybody! Welcome back to the Friday discussions with the SpiffyNeedleGeeks. I am BJ.
I'm Danny.
We really should have decided who's going to say what when.
Whatever. Ryan, Brandon, Danny, and we also have a special guest commentator with us. Introduce yourself, my friend.
I am Kenshi. Hello, everybody.
Yes. Okay, so for as I'm probably sure you see it actually in the title, because there's no point in trying to surprise this shit when it's probably in the title of the fucking video.
And of the thumbnail.
Today we are talking Steven Universe.
Yeah, SpiffyNeedleGeeks. We're not gonna just talk about video games. We can talk about other shit too.
Like one of modern day's greatest television cartoons.
Yes. Right up there with Adventure Time and My Little Pony with modern classics.
Actually, don't care.
I like Adventure, but I like both of them. So
yeah. So we have Kenshi with us as well because Kenshi's actually one of the biggest Steven Universe nuts as well as us. So we figured he'd get a kick out of talking about it with us as well.
Indeed.
And we're just gonna be general about this. Like we're gonna talk, like, you know, for those of you who don't know about the show, maybe you've heard of it or maybe you haven't heard of it. We're gonna talk about why the show is so great. This is spoiler filled because this isn't like one of your typical, like, you know, slapstick kind of shows where it's like a different skit each time with no real cohesion plot. This is a full out plot that starts off from the first episode in order to the most recent episode.
It just also has a couple episodes of total slapstick.
And also just to let you guys know, like we not only did we decide we want to talk about Steven Universe just because we fucking like Steven Universe, but next week there's a major event that's going on. We will get a little bit more in depth into that as we go, but there's going to be a major event going on next week, and we want to actually do a discussion about that event, but we feel that really in order to probably focus solely on the event, we really got to cover just the show in general, you know. That way we stay a little bit more focused. So there will be more Steven Universe discussions next week.
Yes. So, in which case, I guess to get started, let's just talk about the general basis. So, Steven Universe is a show whose basic point of view is revolving around the child Steven Universe, who is a half-human, half-gem hybrid. The gems are I guess, yes, like I said, this is a spoiler-filled discussion, so if you don't want to be spoiled, stop right now. The gems are an alien-like species of literal sentient crystal rocks who take form into a physical holographic appearance into what they do. Like, Steven himself was born from his human father and then his mother, who was known as Rose Quartz, who was one of these gems. And the show pretty much revolves around Steven growing up, kind of learning how to use his gem side power while at the same time just being a normal kid. He lives with 3 other gems who are pretty much his parents, caretakers, you know, the people who look after him, while at the same time defend the Earth from other gem threats. We have Amethyst, who is the purple runt. She is I guess to describe Amethyst, she's pretty outgoing. Like just a general synopsis before we actually get into big details with them. Amethyst is, you know, she's pretty upbeat. She's the most outgoing while at the same time probably the most crude.
Yeah.
We have Pearl, who is definitely the most mother-like. She's very, you know, she's very high maintenance. She's very overprotective, especially for Steven. And she's the most elegant. And then we have my personal favorite, Garnet, and I know most people's personal favorites.
Square mom.
Garnet. Yeah, Garnet is the most level-headed. She's effectively she's like the leader of the group. She's the one who kind of she's also the strongest of the group. She's just in general better at everything else.
She is. She is.
Yeah, like basically like back in the day with Steven's mother, Rose Quartz. Rose Quartz, technically you would say, was the leader of the gems, but then, you know, due to events that we will be talking about later, that role was eventually passed on to Garnet.
Yes, so
who is the strongest and fastest of the gems.
Yeah. So, I guess before we get into a general plot synopsis, like, what does everyone here? What are your opinions about this show? Like, what do you like about it? Like, why do you think it deserves the credit it gets?
I fucking adore this show, and I think it's probably kind of like what you said before. Yeah, there are some goofy moments and everything. I mean, this is a show on Cartoon Network, so of course you can expect some similar humor, because the creator of the show, Rebecca Sugar, she's worked on Adventure Time, and the people that she works with, they all worked on Adventure Time, or they've worked on other shows like Uncle Grandpa and everything. So you can expect, similar goofy humor and everything, but what really drew me in with Steven Universe when I started watching it was like you said, there is a cohesive plot going on. It's not like it's just random slapstick from episode to episode. And because at first when I heard about Steven Universe, it was like, oh, it's just another one of those slapsticky shows and everything. And
I had a similar opinion at first. Like, when I first heard about it, I was like, oh, these three superheroes who have to keep dragging along this random fat kid who's just gonna screw everything up all the time.
That's kind of like what I got. It's like, oh, you're gonna have these three warrior women, and then you're gonna have this little fat kid that's gonna fuck everything up and stuff. And it's like, I see where this show is going. But then BJ started showing me these episodes, and it is nothing like that at all.
I was overall the one who introduced everybody in this call to the show, but overall I was introduced to this show by my girlfriend Lindsay. She adored the show, and she was talking to me about it, and because she's obsessed with it, and I found it interesting enough to marathon it, and I just fell in love. It was love at first sight.
Well, actually, I think for me, I think BJ, it was you who actually reintroduced me to Steven Universe, because like a long time ago, I was actually introduced to the show by my good friends Gigs or David or Dive Bomb Rebel, and this was like around the time when the show first started. But
back in 2013.
Pretty much, yeah. But then it was like, okay, it looks cool. I guess I didn't catch on to the rest of the show and whatnot. But yeah, it was like up until I guess around the time like near the finale, which we'll get to later on. And BJ reintroduced me to the show. That's when I'm like, okay, I need to catch up on all the stuff that I missed, because holy crap, I did not expect for Steven Universe to get this good later on. Because yeah, pretty much. My first impression of the show was essentially the same, just like what Danny was. Yeah, I thought it was gonna be like some typical slapstick kind of show, and it's like each episode has a completely different plot, with each episode not really connecting with each other later on.
But no, there are some filler episodes, that's to be expected.
Yeah,
but
for
the most part, every episode does have some kind of purpose towards the overall arcing plot.
That's what I realized as I watched the many episodes, like as I was catching up with the show.
Well, let's see.
I really do appreciate the fact that Steven Universe, around the time when Steven Universe was first announced and it was making its way to TV and stuff like that. I mean, I obviously didn't know anything about it. I didn't even know it was a thing until I really don't think I knew it was a thing until BJ went up to us and was like, "Hey, we got to watch this show." And I'm like, "Okay, what's it about?" and all that stuff. And I really think that the thing that makes it so enjoyable to me is that you have your shows that focus in terms of anime and other TV shows. You have your shows that focus directly around serious drama, stuff like that. You have your shows that focus specifically around the comedy. But Steven Universe is one of those shows that has the perfect blend of both. Not every moment is too serious, but then again, not every moment is too funny or too comedic and stuff like that. When you combine elements like those, especially when you find ways to throw funny moments that make you smile in deeply serious moments, that's what makes a TV show for me. You find a combination of things that people can enjoy.
Right.
And at the same time, it hits you in places that you don't expect it to hit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it feels strange.
I think, and that was I think again, I guess if I may divulge a little bit with the creator Rebecca Sugar, Rebecca has stated numerous times that when she was creating Steven Universe, she intends for the show to be for everybody. And I know you could argue, oh, well, anybody can watch any show. And, My Little Pony, I guess, is the prime example. And while that may indeed be true, at the end of the day, My Little Pony, regardless of how old you are, regardless of your gender or whatever, if you like the show and stuff, regardless of all of that, My Little Pony has always been intended for little kids.
Yeah.
Rebecca has come forward and said Steven Universe, her goal is for this show to be enjoyed by everybody. She wants kids to enjoy this. She wants adults to enjoy this, boys, girls. She just wants to make a show that everybody can get into. And it looks like it's working.
Yeah. Now, if I could, because
all things considered, especially with the...
Russell, let Kenshi have this. He's been trying to get words in for a while now.
I was going to give my little story of how I ended up beating Steven Universe. Now, I'm going to be flat frank. I had no idea what Steven Universe was up until it was reaching the Steven Bomb, which we'll get into, because that's the point a lot of people learned about this show. And for me, I literally saw near nothing of this show. I mean, I may have seen things, but I didn't realize it was Steven Universe. And I didn't find out about it until BJ brought it up, and then we had the Steven Bomb, and I watched the Steven Bomb, and I was like, holy crap.
Yeah, but the Steven Bomb is actually what's going to be that big event that Danny mentioned that's happening next week, but it's actually going to be the third Steven Bomb. Yeah. There was a second one that happened a couple months ago, and the first one happened sometime, was it last year?
Yeah, it was last year.
Basically, what they refer to as the Steven Bomb is every day for 5 days we get a new episode. So it's pretty much a week-long event of new episodes, and these episodes that they put into the Steven Bombs tend to be, I guess you could argue, the most plot important. They offer a lot of the details, and, Steven Bombs are pretty much a really big deal. The first Steven Bomb, they actually ended season 1. So the last 5 episodes of season 1, that was the first Steven Bomb. And it was like BJ said, a couple of months ago, before they took a break with the show and everything, they did the second Steven Bomb. And next week, they're starting new episodes again, and it's another Steven Bomb. So that's why initially I had asked BJ, hey, for the Spiffy Needle discussion, why don't we do one about the second Steven Bomb? And then they announced, oh, there's a third one, and it's like, son of a bitch!
It's like the U or something. I don't know.
So that's pretty much what I was referring to. So next week, the discussion, it will be strictly our reactions and responses to this latest Steven Bomb that happens.
Yeah. Now, I guess overall, before we go really deep into what's going on in the show, because we just keep talking about how great it is, how perfect it is, how it's the messiah of cartoons.
Even though,
you keep saying that, I just say it's really fucking awesome.
I'm a pony knight, so it's like Steven Universe is awesome, but I worship my goddess.
I'll quickly dive into one thing that no one's brought up yet: the animation, the visuals, and the music.
The music especially.
So beautiful.
Oh yeah, especially the animation.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and that was another thing that I remembered reading an interview with for Rebecca and a couple of the other animators. They specifically went out of their way for when they were doing character designs and everything. They purposefully wanted to keep everything very simple looking but very clean looking. And because that will contribute to overall better animation. It will look gorgeous. They can play around with colors, and they can play around with facial expressions. If you actually go online and Google the pilot of Steven Universe and compare that to what the show is now, you will see there is a drastic change in the overall character design, the overall aesthetic. The pilot, you can tell they were trying to be a little bit more I guess detailed, and that was before they decided, you know what, let's just keep it simple and stylized, and it actually looks a lot better.
Well, not only that, they Rebecca wanted to keep it simple, because she actually has a good, I think about a dozen to a couple of dozen different animators all drawing the show, and you can normally tell because like if you watch like from episode to episode, you can normally see like a small like difference with drawing style between the characters. But for the most part, because they are so simple to draw, you really have to be paying attention to see like a real difference between the drawing styles.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but they had to keep everything streamlined because, like you said, she's got a bunch of animators working on this all at once. Some animators working on different episodes. So it's like you've got to. It's like working in a bakery. Regardless of who is in the kitchen, everything has to be consistent because that's what everybody expects.
Right.
And then of course, like I also brought up the music. I'm pretty sure Rebecca Sugar like writes a lot of the music herself.
I think she does. Like that,
Yeah.
and I'm sure she has help, but I mean, she does write some of her music. She actually plays the ukulele, so some of the ukulele music is actually played by her.
Yes.
Which is even funnier because like they actually have Steven in the show a ukulele player. So.
Mhm.
Yo, now I think about it, I think I actually ran into, I don't know if it was Rebecca Sugar herself, but I think I ran into her SoundCloud with all the music on there.
Oh yeah, she uploads. She'll upload like whenever there's a new episode with new music, she'll upload the songs to SoundCloud constantly.
Yeah.
Okay. I had a feeling.
Yeah, and I guess like another reason I guess you could say why the music is awesome is one particular voice actor, she actually is a music artist. And that would be that would be the voice actress for Garnet, who is voiced by Estelle.
She's also she's a rapper.
Yeah.
Well, like R&B, she sings like that kind of music. Like she is a professional music artist, and we've got her voice in Garnet, so that probably also contributes to the music, especially with a certain song that Garnet sings, which we will get to later.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, I know my girlfriend actually makes a big deal about this one, like regarding Pearl's voice actress. Like from what she told me, apparently Pearl's voice actress, the name slips my mind at this moment, but apparently she was a Broadway actress that actually played in Broadway like Wicked.
Well, really?
Was it Wicked? It was something.
I'm gonna look that shit up.
Yeah, look it up real quick.
I'm actually
know.
looking them up now.
Yeah, because I fucking love Wicked. I mean, I know it's not Idina Menzel or anything, but, there's a hell of a lot of other people that were involved in that play, but I'll find out real quick.
I know it was some kind of famous Broadway. I know that.
Define
Okay.
gravity.
Nah, her... Damn it, computer.
Voice actor Dee Magno Hall.
Yeah, Dee Magno Hall is Pearl's voice actress. Let me see. She's lended her voice to the new Mickey Mouse Club. She's appeared as Jasmine on Disney's Aladdin, the musical spectacular soundtrack. So I was like, yeah, she's done a little bit of things.
Indeed.
No, in which case, it probably wasn't like it. I know it was something that Lindsay made a big deal
Yeah,
about.
well, it does say she's a former member of a pop group called The Party.
Okay. Well, in which case,
Which is kind of funny given Pearl's personality.
Yeah, I guess that'll be a good segue to delve into the show itself. So, as mentioned previously, yes, Steven is a half gem, half human. His father, his name is Greg. He fell in love with Rose Quartz, who was the leader of the Crystal Gems, and interestingly enough, like they made a big deal early on about how when Rose Quartz got pregnant with Steven, somehow they're still to this day it hasn't been revealed how exactly that's been able to happen because the gems aren't of like a similar human anatomy. Their bodies are literally made of they're like holograms with mass.
They're basically the holograms from Star Trek: The Next Generation and onward.
Yeah, sort of like that. And then with their gemstones, which are placed somewhere on their body. Like Amethyst is in her chest, Pearls is in her forehead, and then Garnet has two in the palms of her hands. Yeah, the gemstones themselves are the actual being. Where yeah, what we see of the gems bodies, those are merely holograms. Like I said, with masks. So we're still unsure exactly how Rose Quartz was able to give birth to Steven, but when she did, she was like, unfortunately, in order for Steven to be alive, because he's half gem, she needed to pass on her gemstone to him. But in order for her to be able to do so, she needed to give up her own physical being. So when Steven was born, Rose Quartz effectively died.
Yeah. And this left, like, a ridiculously huge impact on Garnet, Amethyst, and Pearl.
Yeah. Because Rose Quartz...
Especially Pearl.
Yeah, because
God.
Rose Quartz, for the most part, throughout the... like, we really don't dwell much into who Rose Quartz really was in terms of her character until, like, way later in the show. She's mostly only mentioned. And when she is mentioned, she's mentioned as, you know, this graceful being who, you know, who loves all of humans and loves all of nature, wants to protect it all. And, like, her powers, for the most part, kind of revolve around that. Like, I guess, because, yeah, like, I also mentioned previously how the crystal gems are vowed to protect the Earth from other gem threats, because there are a lot of different kinds of monsters that are gems themselves that are ravaging the Earth, and the crystal gems find it's their duty to go round up, defeat the monsters, and then conceal their gems so that way they don't come back and wreak more havoc. So they do have their own powers, like they are kind of like a warrior type race as well. It's a combination of, you know, beside their own, you know, their own fighting skills, you know, being made of a gem rock alloy. They are strong. They are naturally strong. They can jump high, but they also have a magical ability to summon weapons.
Each weapon reflecting the gem itself in some way.
Yes, Amethyst's weapon, they're able to pull their weapons out of their gems. Amethyst has a whip. Pearl has, what is it? Like
a spear? Basically a spear or something close to a glaive.
Yeah, and then Garnet has these huge gauntlets. Rose Quartz's powers were actually a little more delved in than that. Rose Quartz was able to not only summon a shield as her weapon, but she was also able to bring, like, plants to life with, you know, with her saliva. She was able to heal any wound or any crack with her tears.
Actually, BJ, for Quartz, it was her tears. It's saliva for Steven.
Yeah, well, I guess, like, going into that, yeah, Steven did inherit all these powers, though. That's actually a big part of the character development for Steven, because he's slowly growing and learning how to use these powers as as he's growing up. And not just Rose Quartz powers, just the gem powers in general. Because, like, gems do have natural powers aside from their own personal powers overall.
Indeed.
Like gems have the natural ability to shapeshift, but that's mostly because their bodies are holograms, so they can make their bodies look like whatever they want to. And they also have a natural ability to fuse as well. They can fuse their bodies together and create whole new, more powerful beings.
Indeed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like we haven't seen all the fusions yet, but from what we have seen, like, I'm trying to remember all of them that we've seen. We've seen, Garnet and Amethyst have fused, and that was Sugilite.
Nicki Minaj.
Yeah. Nicki Minaj, which honestly blew my mind, because when I first heard that and everything, I was like, really? That was her? Because I'm so used to that stupid, squeaky fucking voice that she does when she does her rap that just makes me want to punch her. But then I listened to her voicing Sugilite, and I'm like, oh my god, she actually sounds normal.
Yeah, but the actual...
That one took me by surprise.
Yeah, I legit didn't know that was actually Nicki Minaj at first either.
Yeah, so that's right. It's like, damn it, Nicki Minaj. Yeah, why the hell can't you sound like that more often? Then we've seen Pearl and Amethyst fuse. I think that was actually
that was the first.
That was the first one, and they fused into Opal, was it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like we saw that. We've seen Garnet, Amethyst, and Pearl all fused together as a, actually kind of a jokey episode, and the one they formed was Alexandrite.
Which was probably the only fusion that was the least fusiony because of the fact that the three personalities were always in conflict. They weren't.
Yeah, well, like I said, it was kind of a joke episode. Like they weren't actually doing any fighting or anything.
They did scare the piss out of kids.
They were trying to pose as Steven's mother.
Right. That's
already
like
are.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, but for the first time in
Like,
one
we'll get more into the context about that later.
Yeah,
you're right.
like, and believe it or not, we've actually seen Steven do a fusion. But his was very different because, you know, with Garnet, Amethyst, and Pearl, and with several other gems that we see throughout the show, usually it's just the gems themselves. Like, they're just, like, gems only fusing with gems. Steven, probably because he's half human, he actually was able to fuse with, well, I guess we can argue I guess we can pretty much, not even so much argue, pretty much just say, his girlfriend, Connie.
Yep.
They're just friends right now.
No.
Not confirmed yet.
No, I think
already.
it's kind of obvious at this point that that's the direction they're going. You know, they
Let's
are.
remember
You know,
that
Steven,
they were a
Steven
perfect fusion.
Yeah, Steven does have a girlfriend, and yeah, they actually, by accident, ended up fusing into a very human-like being, just very tall, and does have the gem on her stomach, and they called her Stevani.
And they've managed to accidentally cause this fusion twice.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've done it twice so far.
Yeah.
It's
but
never
both
been
by
on
accident.
purpose.
Yeah, the second time was even more like. Well, actually, both times were hilarious. Just the reactions in general. Like, 'cause, like the first time, you know, the first time they go to show the gems, and like Pearl's freaking out. Like, oh, this is like really inappropriate. Like you're a boy and a girl. This isn't right. Amethyst is just laughing. Garnet is
Pearl,
just fucking
look at Garnet.
Garnet
She's got like
Garnet
huge
is shipping.
So proud of Steven.
Garnet
She's
is
got like
shipping.
this huge. She's got like this huge grin on her face, and then she goes, she goes to them because Pearl's like, say something, and she's saying, yeah, she's like, you're not just two. She's like, you're not just two people together. You're not
what,
two
BJ,
people.
just
You're not
cut
one.
in what Garnet says.
You're not one person.
Yeah,
You
she's like,
are an
experience.
experience.
She's like, make sure
Now go.
it's a good experience. Now go, have fun.
Fun.
And
Yeah,
it's like,
and then the second time they accidentally fused, it was in front of Steven's father, Greg. And he was just internally screaming. Like, the face he makes when he sees them fuse is like literally the best representation of internal screaming.
yeah, really.
Internal
When did
screaming.
you learn how to do this?
But we're getting way ahead of ourselves. Like, yeah, let's go into other characters.
Maybe we
I
should
suppose.
start from the top and go one character at a time.
Yeah, so like we talked a lot about Steven. Yeah, Steven for the most part, like I should go ahead and say Steven Universe, and I did warn all these guys about this before they started. It does start off kind of slow.
Yeah.
But that's really to be expected with most TV shows, I in my opinion.
Yeah, let's look at things like My Little Pony and Adventure Time and other shows. You can't expect it to jump the gun early on because it's got to get you invested in the basics before it can smack you with Steven bombs.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like from the very beginning, Steven is just a really innocent kid. Like, he's very naive. He's pretty selfish. He's pretty stubborn.
But he's so goddamn adorable.
Yeah, he is very cute. Like he's a very he's not crude or anything. He's a very sweet kid. Like for the most part, like most of the things he does do are based off his own selfish motives. But he's just a kid, so that's really to be expected from any kid.
Right. And, his reactions to things is pretty much how a kid would react. Hell, his voice actor is a kid.
Yeah, and
A really good kid voice actor too.
which is so rare. Like, it's so rare to see a child voice actor that's actually good at voice acting.
Though
It's
if
so
you
cool.
listen to some of the early episodes,
because usually they get adults, especially women, to voice kids and young boys because they're our voices can naturally reach that pitch much easier than men can. But in this case, they actually got a kid, and like I said, it's a very good kid. Like, this kid knows what the hell he's doing. Yeah, he was obviously trained.
Yeah.
I mean, I was like, I think the last time I've ever seen like a child in voice acting that did such a phenomenal job was probably the kid that voiced Alphonse in Full Metal Alchemist.
Yep. The last couple of kid actors that I remember hearing was the kid actor who voiced Chowder and the little kid who did Catbug from Bravest Warriors.
Oh my god, I forgot about that kid. The Catbug kid. That Catbug kid is like 6 years old and he's already fucking awesome. I forgot all about that kid.
I do
I
feel like the
don't even
voice
know his
actor
name.
for
I just know him
Steven-
as Catbug.
Yeah. Though I do feel like the voice actor for Steven had to grow into the role some, because if you rewatch the first couple episodes, it's a little rough.
We can argue that for anybody, really.
Yeah,
You know, the
that's
first episodes, regardless of what show it is, you know, they're always going to sound very rough, but they do get into the roles as you go.
Yeah.
Well, in which case, so yes, Steven as a character, he starts off like any character. He also starts off, you know, he's still learning how to use his powers. Like that's really what a lot of the first episodes are. Like the very first episode is him accidentally being able to summon his own gem weapon, which is the shield, but he has no real control over it. You know, he's slowly learning like how other gem powers, like one of the most early on episodes, which was pretty freaky to look at, was when he was learning shapeshifting, but he was turning himself into like multiples of cats that he couldn't change back.
Oh yeah, that episode actually got very creepy at the end.
Yeah.
Oh lord.
Yeah, cause like it was really like goofy and stuff. Cause like he's got cat fingers, and it's like really cute and goofy and stuff. And then like at the very end, all of a sudden you're seeing like these cats like morphing out of his head and stuff, and it's like, what the shit happened here?
Yeah, for the most part, like Steven doesn't really take a lot of the gem stuff seriously. Like he just sees it as fun, and if he sees a fun opportunity to do something, no matter how dangerous it may be, he'll just do it because he really doesn't understand the full consequence of it until it's already too late.
Yeah.
And then normally it's the gem or one of the gems or even his father bailing him out.
Which is very realistic to how kids are, and it's honestly one of the best portrayals of how kids work. They can't really be told to not make mistakes until they know what the mistake is. And
yes, and this is a big part of Steven's development as a character. He never makes the same mistake twice. He doesn't, like, you know, do something stupid, just says, "Oh, I'm sorry," and then goes and does the same thing again. It's always a new mistake, and whenever he does realize the mistake, he learns from it. He actually is learning from all these experiences.
Heck, he's even teaching the gems in some way.
Yeah.
Pearl is, I think, the one he teaches the most of, in many ways.
Yeah, so I know, like, especially more so, I guess that was mostly Steven at the beginning. Nowadays, Steven, he's still pretty upbeat, but he's definitely questioning a lot more things. Like, he's definitely growing up. Like, he's seen some shit at this point.
Yeah, he's starting to it's like he's finally starting to understand, you know, the severity of the situation. He's finally understanding, you know, what Garnet, Amethyst, and Pearl are, you know, what they stand for, how much the Earth really means to them and everything. And I think, like, you know, he's starting to really understand, like, you know, why his mother risked so much for the planet and everything. So it's like, it all hits him at once, but I think, like, by this point, at least as far as the second Steven bomb goes, you know, he's pretty much, you know, he's gotten a lot more adjusted to it. I mean, there's still a lot of things he doesn't know, and there's still a lot of things out there that, you know, kind of like freak him out. But, you know, he's more or less accepted. He's, you know, trying to make things better. So it's like, you know, he actually is trying to become stronger now.
Yeah, but it does get pretty bad at some points, though. Like, because after one of the biggest, like, bombs of the first Steven bomb, Steven was very close, like, literally shutting everybody out of his life except for the gems because he was afraid for their safety.
Indeed.
Like, because one of the big things that is hinted and then flat out said towards the more recent episodes, we find out why the gems are even here, or the crystal gems, I should say, what they're doing. The gem homeworld, its whole thing, it's because they're gems. You know, they don't reproduce, you know, sexually like humans do or the such. They're rocks. They get cultivated. They're, even though for the most part, from what we've seen, every single gem that we've ever seen has a feminine appearance, but they're technically of a non-binary gender. They don't have a gender. They're rocks. They're literally just rocks.
Yeah.
So but that's not, but because they can't do anything sexually, you know, they can still feel emotion, they can still feel love, they can still have romantic feelings for each other. That's as far as it goes.
Right.
But in this case, because there is no sexual reproduction for the gems, their way of reproducing are going to other planets, you know, rock-covered planets that aren't made of gas, and literally cultivating them to the point where the planet is like dies and is no longer inhabitable because the gems literally, take all of its energy to be able to reproduce more of itself.
Yeah.
Indeed.
And when they got to Earth, which was already at that point inhabited by the humans, or I think by that point it was, because the gems, or at least Pearl and Garnet anyway, suggest when they got there, like the humans were still in like their caveman like era.
Yeah.
Because
so they've been there since humanity practically started.
Yeah, and Rose Quartz, who fell in love with this life that they found on this planet. She didn't want it to be cultivated, and she didn't want it to die, so she started her own rebellion, and there was practically a gem civil war on Earth. That there was many casualties. A lot of gems and people died from it.
Mm-hmm.
And it lasted for thousands of years.
Yeah, and pretty much, like Garnet, Amethyst, Pearl. As far as the gems on Earth, they're practically the last survivors of this civil war, and they just they just feel obligated to continue protecting the Earth after everything that happened.
Yeah, they're not so much protecting, Earth from other Earth planets. They're not like Superman that are gonna go stop, bank robberies. They don't care what humans do to each other. They're just protecting Earth from other gem threats.
Indeed, because it's very clear that humanity won't just wipe itself out.
Yeah, and Rebecca Sugar actually has come forward and said that, even though the gems have been there and have, been fighting for humanity, they kind of like did it more in the shadows. Like humanity, I guess you could say, like, wasn't so much aware, or, they weren't really involved with the gems until Steven came along. Because, with Steven coming along, and, not only is he being raised by the gems, but he's also interacting with everybody in the city that they're in, Beach City. Basically, he's pretty much like the one thing that's like bringing the gems and humanity together. So, like, the humanity, like, the people in the city, they are now aware of the gems' existence. They are aware that they're doing shit, and
they're aware of the magic. They're aware of it, but it's happened for so long in that city that they're kind of just used to it.
Yeah, it's like they don't care anymore.
They're aware that the gems aren't doing. They're not hurting them. They're letting them live their lives. They're doing their thing. We're doing our thing. It's fine.
Yeah, like there was like an episode where like there was like a power outage that happened, and the mayor actually went to Steven and said, oh my God, the entire city's out of power. You guys got to do something. He specifically went to Steven to ask the gems, what can you do about this power outage?
The chase. So I guess overall, what I was getting to when I brought up the whole gem war thing with Steven, for the longest time the gems were trying to hide that from Steven. Like they didn't really want him knowing until he was much older. But like little things like kind of helped hinted towards it, like where he was slowly figuring it out until it was just flat out stated to him. Like one of the biggest things that they especially tried keeping from Steven was the kindergarten, which Amethyst ended up breaking down and just showing Steven because that's actually where she came from. Because like we mentioned how gems would go to other planets to cultivate more gems for breeding purposes. Garnet and Pearl themselves, as well as Rose, they come from the actual homeworld. Amethyst was born on Earth.
Indeed, she's the youngest of the group.
Yes, yeah. So Amethyst herself, like mindset-wise, is probably no older than Steven. Like, she's obviously older than him. Like, she's a few thousand years old, but from what I've heard Pearl say, apparently only being a few thousand years old to a gem, you may as well be like a child.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, Amethyst is very much still a child. She's the most reckless. She's like, Garnet and Pearl act more like, mothers to Steven. Amethyst is definitely like a sister.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So, like, I know that I'll actually come to think of it, a lot of the times, like, a good half of the mistakes that Steven makes, they're not solely his mistakes. A good chunk of the time, it is actually something that Amethyst also starts as well.
Yeah.
Like, it's a mistake that Amethyst herself is also learning, and then Steven kind of learns from it. because Amethyst kind of keeps him involved.
Yeah.
But then again, there's also the fact that Amethyst has kind of a mental breakdown, thinking herself a mistake because she came from kindergarten.
Yeah, like Amethyst does have, unfortunately, these really bad insecurity problems. Like she's very much like a preteen, kid. Like she really doesn't she doesn't like her appearance. She feels like she's not really she feels like she's not good enough. She feels like she's a bad influence on Steven.
Right. And I mean that's like in the episode when we really start learning like where she came from and everything. She actually ends up fighting Pearl. And Pearl is saying, look, I don't want to fight you, and Amethyst is like, well, I don't want to. Yeah, I wouldn't want to fight me either. But then but as they keep fighting, she's practically sobbing and everything, and she's saying, look, I didn't ask to be made. I didn't ask for this. So I mean, it still eats her up and everything, to the point where Pearl kind of had to sit her down, saying, look, I never thought of kindergarten as you. You were the like one good thing that came out of this like horrible act.
Well, even then, like, Pearl actually is another big reason why Amethyst does feel so insecure, because Pearl herself is very much a perfectionist. Like, she wants everything to be perfect. Like, literally, Pearl's actual hobbies are cleaning and keeping things organized. Like, she actually straight up enjoys it.
Yeah.
And so because of that, like, Steven looks up to her as a role model. Garnet, always is always comparing other people to Pearl, and that does make Amethyst feel very insecure.
Yeah, and not to mention, I mean, Amethyst is the complete opposite. I mean, it's like, yeah, while Pearl's very perfectionist and, very neat and tidy, Amethyst is a slob.
Yeah, a literal slob. Like her room in the gem in their home of the Gem Temple is literally just full. It's literally like a dump. It's a dump heap.
Yeah, it's just full of random crap.
Oh,
I mean, to the point like there was like one where like she found like what was it, like a helmet or a hat or something?
It was like an airplane mask.
Yeah, like an airplane mask, and she pulls a skull out of it, and she's like, and there's a prize inside. It was like, what the hell? But it's like, that's how long she's been hoarding shit.
She's been hoarding those kind of items, and apparently a lot of really amazing references.
She also had a picture of the gems when they apparently helped in the American Revolution, which had one of the best jokes ever.
Yeah, like the picture showed Pearl, Rose, Amethyst, Garnet. They were on a boat. They were helping some guys out of the water, and it showed Garnet punching a shark, which was apparently leaping out of the water. And Garnet's only response to that was, the hard part was getting the shark to pierce.
Yeah, which is ironic because that photo is actually based off a painting.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody's punching a shark, but there is a painting of where like these people are trying to drag people into their boat because they're getting attacked by sharks. That is an actual painting, and they just referenced it, but they had Garnet punching a shark.
Square Mom
it's
has
like
no
there be no jumping sharks here because Garnet will just punch them back into the ocean.
Yeah, Garnet's response to things normally is just violence, but it actually has gotten to a point, like later in later episodes, especially thanks to Steven, where Garnet does learn, some things don't really
violence
require violence. It can't require violence. Sometimes things just need a more sensitive touch, and this was, I think Garnet really learned this in the birthday episode.
Yeah.
The first real episode in the show that pretty much made people start crying. Because there was an episode where, as we stated, the gems have been around since, the caveman days. And, so they're borderline immortal. Like, they don't age. They can't die from aging.
Yeah, they can only die from being injured.
Yeah. So, this was brought up. Steven's half human, so he still ages normally. But when this was brought up, Steven kind of started questioning his maturity, because he realized he is getting older, and he doesn't really he should really be growing out of some kid stuff.
Yeah.
And this mindset actually causes his gem to react to that and actually start aging his body to the point where he's actually becoming hundreds of years old, where his body can't even take it.
Oh yeah.
And the gems see this and they're freaking out, they don't know what to do. And Garnet's first, one of Garnet's first reactions is to pick up Steven and start violently shaking him. She doesn't know. She doesn't.
Oh yeah.
She doesn't know how else to handle this.
I thought violence was the answer.
Yeah, and then Pearl and Amethyst start scolding her for it. Like that was the wrong thing to do, and that eventually ended up being what saved Steven. Not the violence itself, but it was the gems bickering with each other and arguing, yelling at Garnet, and that's what caused Steven to reduce his age, because he needed to be the mature one there.
Yeah.
He basically is as Steven was telling the gems to control themselves. He literally did get much younger as he was saying that. Because like you said, he was trying to be the more mature one.
Yeah, so every character in the show does grow in their own way. We brought up Steven's growths. Amethyst is kind of growing in the fact she is learning a little bit, bit by bit, how to be more mature, how to accept herself. Pearl is learning more and more how to accept Steven, because Pearl's biggest quirk is because a big thing we find out later on, especially, Pearl was downright devoted to Rose Quartz. Almost borderline a romantic crush on Rose Quartz.
It pretty much has been confirmed that she
I think at this point it is blatantly obvious, Before, during season 1, we knew that, yes, the devotion was there because they did fight side by side during the uprising. She pretty much was Rose's, right-hand person. But now, in season 2, with a couple of other episodes, it is plainly obvious that Pearl was in love with Rose Quartz.
Yeah, and she was willing to sacrifice her life to Rose Quartz. We saw apparently in some flashbacks she did do
several times actually.
Yeah, and actually I guess we'll fill this context in here before we get confused. We brought up how the gems are their bodies are only holograms. The bodies can be damaged, and when the bodies are damaged, their bodies will poof away, only leaving the gemstone. And then once the gemstone is left alone, it's vulnerable, but as long as it's protected, and if it's still out in the open, if it's not encased in a bubble or trapped underground or something, the gem will be able to reincarnate. They may change something about their appearance, about their clothing, whatever they feel like.
Yeah, so this is so this is how you can see in different flashbacks, when you see what Garnet, Amethyst, and Pearl look like, say in the 80s versus how they look like now. That's pretty much why. It's an easy way for them to change their appearance.
Yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so really the only real way for a gem to die is if their gem is outright shattered.
Yeah.
And even then, that doesn't seem to completely kill, because there are gems.
Yeah, as far as we're aware, according to recent episodes, aka the cluster episode, which is the most fucked up thing I've ever seen in my life. We'll get to that later.
Yeah.
Oh God, let's not.
I would say good save.
Yeah. Okay. So back to Pearl. Yeah, she was willing to sacrifice herself many times for Rose Quartz. So now that Rose Quartz is gone, she's pretty much moved that devotion over to Steven, but it's more so less this is my right hand, I'm this person's right hand gal. It's more so I'm this person's caretaker. I need to protect Steven with my life.
Yeah, and Steven is very, and we do see there is an episode called Steven the Sword Fighter, where we do really see how much Pearl really does mean to Steven, even though she's very strict with him and everything. In the episode, this is actually the first time we really see the whole concept of, where a gem loses her body, but can, come back in a different form, give or take however long it may be. Pearl spent weeks in her gem before she came back in a different form. And during those weeks, Steven had no idea what was going on. He was treating her gem like an egg, keeping it bundled up in blankets and under a lamp and everything. And she's like, when is she coming back? And Garnet keeps saying, look, she's gonna be fine and everything. These things just take time. And he's like, but I want her to come back. So yeah, it's actually one of the more touching episodes.
Yeah.
For those weeks, he literally did nothing but stay by Pearl's side, or Pearl's gem, I should say. And then even then, he doesn't only do that for Pearl. He does that for Amethyst as well when that happens to her in a more recent episode.
Wow.
Except Amethyst doesn't take as long. She only takes a few hours.
Amethyst only took a couple of hours.
Though to be fair, part of the reason some theorize Pearl took so long was because there was a hollow Pearl who was probably sapping a lot of energy.
Well, I really, well, I think it was just standard. Like, Pearl took her time because she's a perfectionist. She wanted to make sure that her appearance was perfect.
Right.
Yeah.
Whereas why Amethyst didn't take as long was because she didn't care as much. Though that was actually a big deal made with that episode. And that was another big episode that brought up, Amethyst's insecurities because there was a monster crawling around her room, and it kept poofing her over and over again. Like it kept killing her, like leaving her gem. And then, but she would always keep coming back within minutes, which is not good for the gem. So whenever she came back, there was something wrong with her body. It was unstable, and it got to the point where she decided that, okay, I shouldn't be rushing this. So she took a couple hours instead. Now she's fine.
Yep.
So,
Right.
Is it bad that I'm getting numb to this?
yeah, Steven does say that. Like, it's funny how actually, like, the audience actually felt the same way. Like, we saw it. We see it happen to Pearl the one time. It happened to Garnet at one point. We'll get to that in a little bit. Yeah, and then we see it happen to Amethyst, and we're kind of used to it at this point. But it just keeps happening over and over again, where it just becomes more comedic than anything.
Especially with all the different deformities she starts developing with every quick regeneration.
Yeah, so I think that's just the show's way of reminding us, if the gem is poofed, they're still fine, as long as the gem isn't cracked or shattered. And there was an episode devoted to a gem being cracked, too, because it did happen to Amethyst as well.
Indeed.
Because there was a point where Amethyst was fooling around by a cliffside, and she fell off, and she landed straight on a rock, and that cracked her gem. And that was also the episode where they introduced Rose's power of healing. Rose was able to heal by shedding tears on whatever it was that was broken or damaged or whatever, and it would heal instantly. Steven tried doing the same thing, but it wasn't working. Like, he tried crying on the gem as much as he could, so they ended up fixing it a different way through one of Rose Quartz fountains that she planted on the earth before she died. And then we find out later that episode that Steven's his powers of healing don't come from his tears; they come from his spit.
Which got awkward because
he was talking with his friend Connie about this, like what was going on. And Connie, she wears glasses, like she's partially blind, and then she shared he shared his juice box with her, with after spit and such in the juice box, and her drinking this, the juice box that Steven already drank out of healed her eyesight.
Of course, that also had an episode where Steven had a watermelon seed spitting contest with his dad, and then birthed an army of watermelon warriors.
Yeah, like Rose Quartz, aside from being able to heal, she was also able to bring plants to sentient life, and they played as her guardians. So that was another part of Steven's Rose's powers that passed on to Steven, that Steven kind of had to learn. Come to think of it, that was the last time Steven ever did that, wasn't it?
No, there was also the episode that involved everyone's second favorite character.
Well, no, I'm referring to when just Steven bringing plant life with his spit.
Oh yeah, that was, I think, the only case he ever did it.
Yeah, we really haven't seen a whole lot of
but then again,
Steven messing around with plant life ever since that episode.
Yeah, really, the only powers we see from Steven are he's able to create a bubble, and it was actually that bubble which was how he first met Connie. And we'll get to Connie here in a second. He mostly tries to rely on his shield, which at first he had trouble using, but in more recent episodes he's able to call upon more easily now. Yeah, he has the healing spit, the plant life spit, and aside from other basic gem powers, I think that's about it for him, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Since his mother's sword has kind of gone to Connie at this point.
Yeah.
Which makes me wonder what Stevani will be like in combat.
Oh, I can't wait to see that.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Anyway, you know what? Let's just cut to Garnet. Can we do that, please?
Sure.
Yeah.
Garnet's best mom.
Sure.
Get best mom, best character, just best everything.
She's also apparently the best at falling face first on the floor.
So Garnet is definitely, like we mentioned previously, she's the strongest of the gems, but she's like the mediator. Like, she's the leader, she's the one that leads, but she's a little bit of everything. Like, she's rough, she's tough, she can be pretty, hot-headed when she needs to be, kind of like Amethyst, but at the same time she's calm, she can be collected. She's pretty organized. She's pretty organized when she does, like Pearl. Like she's like a happy medium between the two.
Indeed.
Like, at first, Garnet was pretty mellow. Like, for the most part, people really only like Garnet in the beginning because, you know, she was, like, you know, the most badass. She got a few funny lines in here and there.
Her deadpan delivery was what sold her comedy.
Yeah, like, she was very serious, but at the same time very blunt. And that's what I found the most hilarious.
Yeah.
It wasn't until much later when we did start seeing more character development with Garnet, especially when we find out what Garnet actually is.
Spoiler warning, even though we've already given like 100 spoiler warnings.
Suffice it to say, you know, when BJ says that she is the strongest, there is a reason for why she is considered the strongest out of the three of them. So yeah,
right.
Remember how we were mentioning fusions, about how they can come together, then, you know, combine attacks. Basically, they take on a more powerful form, albeit temporarily, but it's a more powerful form nonetheless.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's a reason Garnet has...
At the end of Season 1, it was hinted throughout all of Season 1, but it was outright confirmed on the last episode of Season 1. Garnet herself is a fusion.
She's a fusion between Ruby and Sapphire.
Both of which are the smallest gems we've seen thus far, not counting Steven.
Yeah, they're like around Steven's size, interestingly enough.
They are tiny.
Yes, and I actually found it most fascinating because, like, there were lots of hints in the show regarding it. Like, one thing, like, you know, Garnet had 2 gems, one, like, you know, one on each of her palms. And no one really thought anything of that. But I always found that curious. It's like, why does all the other gems only have 1, but Garnet have 2? And then, you know, there was a bunch of other hints, you know, leading towards it. And then we finally got the confirmation when you know, some gems that we'll talk about later, you know, came to Earth, and one of them actually zapped Garnet with a gem taser that actually destroys the gem's physical appearance. And when they reformed, they were separated, and that's when we got to see Ruby and Sapphire for the first time.
It is the only time so far.
Yeah, the only time, and I'll actually get into a little later why I think that's actually a good thing. Why that's the only time we've seen them as of yet. But in which case, so what we saw of them so far, Ruby is very brash. She's headstrong. Sapphire is calm and compassionate. So people are like, oh, that's why they're so balanced, because we have a roughneck and we have a cool collected lady coming together to form this you know, this what we see as this very balanced character who is the best of both worlds. Interestingly enough, Garnet's already brought up numerous times how that's not really the case, because her whole being is both of their everything, not just parts of it.
True.
So it's
but bringing the whole of 2 opposites does make a sum, as she has said, literally greater than the sum of their wholes. So she is a balance of their 2 personalities.
Yes, and what was brought up the most, like, why do we see Garnet as a fusion the whole time? The biggest reason as to that is, like, Ruby and Sapphire are actually in a confirmed romantic relationship. The 2 of them actually do love each other. And their logic is they want to be together forever, and by doing that, they want to be together forever, literally.
Yeah. This is actually important to note because it is very important to note that, just because, you know, especially with what we've been seeing so far in Season 2, they have been diving a little bit more into, you know, how fusion works, you know, giving us a little bit more details about it. And that's just a really cool thing with Garnet is, you know, before it was always, you know, oh, you're just fusing to, you know, you get more power, you become stronger, or in other cases it's to gain control. Garnet right now is like the only one that sees the whole fusion process as much more of an intimate relationship.
Indeed. And it's very interesting because it's shown that even though they are a fusion, there are bits where Ruby and Sapphire show separation, such as when only one eye is crying, or one of the more interesting retroactive look-backs to Garnet's behavior was when her and Amethyst actually had a fist fight, but she only summoned 1 gauntlet, suggesting only one half of Garnet was actually really ready to punch Amethyst's skull clean off.
Yeah, it's like between the gems, Ruby's gem is on her is the left palm, Sapphire's is the right. So,
but that's
I'm still very curious to wonder what their own personal weapons are. But Like, regardless, like, actually,
I'm sure that will come in time. I mean, I think it's safe to say this is not going to be the last time we are going to be seeing Ruby and Sapphire. It probably will be a very long time before we see them again, but I've got no doubt that we will be seeing them again.
Yes, and
probably, but I'm actually going to go ahead and get into the metaphor that I find with this fusion that I really like a lot, which is honestly the reason why I don't want them to separate. Like, I want them to stay as Garnet as they are. Because one thing I find curious, it's like, the moment it was confirmed that Garnet was a fusion of Ruby and Sapphire, and this even happens within the show with Steven, everybody wants to see them all separate all of a sudden, you know? Like, at first, we saw Garnet as this one person, that's really what Garnet wants. She wants to be seen as Garnet. She doesn't want to see it. She doesn't want to be seen as a fusion. She doesn't want to be seen as Ruby and Sapphire. She wants to be seen as Garnet. And the moment that everyone found out she was for sure a fusion, and then when we saw Ruby and Sapphire, all of a sudden everybody just wanted to see more of Ruby and Sapphire. They wanted to see Garnet unfused. And this is even portrayed in the show with Steven. Like, Steven, on multiple occasions, he's constantly asking Garnet all these questions, like what's it like to be a fusion all the time. He's trying to persuade Garnet to unfuse so he can see them again.
Yeah, that's where there was a whole thing where he was like, they were folding laundry, and he's like, you know what can help us get the laundry done faster? And Garnet's like, I'm not unfusing to do laundry.
Yeah,
So it was like, it's goofy, innocent moments like that.
Now, while I am interested in seeing more of Ruby and Sapphire, I will admit I don't necessarily want to see more Ruby and Sapphire at the expense of Garnet. I would like to see more of their backstory and their personality, not necessarily in the now, but I would like to see more of them. And I can understand why everybody's so curious, because you have to wonder how they started out. There's all sorts of headcanons of them starting off basically as rivals, or basically getting in each other's way, or maybe they will love at first sight. There is an interest in seeing how Ruby and Sapphire reached the point where they wanted to be Garnet, and I can understand that. I can say I do kind of want to see what happens when only one of them is around and they can't just refuse, Or maybe what if, like, they realize they need a fusion that, Garnet can't permit. Like, maybe Sapphire and Pearl have to fuse because their fusion is so perfectly suited for a situation. I'd like to see situations that kind of force them to examine what's going on, because that's when I feel it's best to understand a type of character. Because we do want to see in full what it is that makes Garnet. We want to see what parts of Garnet are more Ruby and which parts are more Sapphire.
Well, that really hasn't been said. That's the point I'm trying to get into entirely, because it's like you just brought up how you wish there were situations where maybe Garnet has to unfuse, so that way, so we can get a fusion for Sapphire and Pearl. I really don't want that, because Garnet's whole character purpose is to prove she can do anything just as Garnet. She doesn't need Ruby or Sapphire. That they need to be together in order to accomplish anything.
Well,
that unfusing never should be an option.
Well, I understand that, and I can sort of agree, but I think you're tackling this in the wrong way. We've already seen everything Garnet is capable of. Hell, we've seen things that we haven't seen everything Garnet is capable of. She managed to beat Jasper the second time when she fought Jasper in a straight fight. But is Jasper the limit of her ability? Could she maybe take on Malachite? Could she maybe fight Opal or another fusion head-on when she's focused? We've not seen the full extent. But what I'm interested in seeing is, okay, yeah, we understand, and even the show is suggesting this, that even if Garnet were to defuse, Ruby and Sapphire are not Garnet. Garnet is still very much a separate entity that is created by Ruby and Sapphire, but is not Ruby and Sapphire. This is something we see in other fusions, specifically in Sugilite. Sugilite very much makes it clear to me that fusions are, in a very big way, an entirely separate entity, that while it uses the powers and does take on some of the personality traits of the contributors to the fusion, they are self-sentient. It was very clear, because we're afraid of what Malachite's sentience will do because of how dangerous Malachite is. But we've seen
we'll get to Malachite later.
But Sugilite has straight up gone on an offensive against those who should be, by definition, her allies, because her fusion aspects are allies. But she becomes so aggressive by nature that she is not necessarily Amethyst and Garnet.
Well, yeah, but effectively, like, overall, I of course, I admit I would like to see more Ruby and Sapphire, but I want to see her just in, like, flashbacks.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be the most likely option that we're going to be seeing. Because, I mean, it's like, I agree. You know, as much as I love Garnet and everything, I mean, yeah, I'm curious to know a little bit more about Ruby and Sapphire themselves, but I think honestly, I think probably the only way we will be seeing that at this point will be in flashbacks, because you got to remember, when we first met Ruby and Sapphire, they were forced to separate, and after Garnet's little musical number, I think it's fairly clear that, I mean, there will be hell to pay if they are ever, you know, forced to separate again.
Yeah.
So I think, like, you know,
which is funny, seeing as how originally Garnet was going to show Ruby and Sapphire and Steven when it was Steven's birthday.
Well, that was a special occasion.
Yeah, they actually had this planned. Like, they were gonna actually go. They were going to tell Steven that Garnet was a fusion, but they were waiting for his birthday.
You know what? You know what I find most adorable about that too? Remember when Steven first sees Ruby and Ruby's first reaction is like, "Don't look at me."
Yeah.
I found out actually the reason why she said that was because what are we gonna do for his birthday now?
Yeah, I remember somebody drawing that. I remember somebody drawing that. I was just like, oh, that's too cute.
It's like that was why.
I saw that comic too, but I think that was actually confirmed.
Yeah, but here's something I also like, and I know this might break with you, BJ, but have you seen Tiny Mom AU? Where Garnet actually defused when she was the only one taking care of Steven, so she could have two sets of hands to take care of the infant and not just one.
I did see that comic, and as cute as I think it is, that again, that goes back into what I was saying, where there's no reason for them to defuse, because that just goes back into the whole feel where it's like Garnet should be able to do anything, you know, as Garnet.
Yeah, though there is something interesting in the fact that Garnet, while Garnet has the ability to stretch her body, I've never seen a gem grow additional limbs. You'd think that'd be something they do as like a sense of utility.
I mean,
Well, actually,
they do grow extra limbs and stuff, but usually it's through the process of fusion.
Yeah, let's go ahead and get into that. Like the idea of fusion in general. Like, it's brought up numerous times, and like how, well, actually, not just brought up, we see numerous times. Whenever any gem fuses, and there's only really one exception to this, where when a gem fuses, they typically have multiple of something. Like, Opal, when we first see Opal, she has 4 arms. When we first see Sugalite, she has 5 eyes and 4 arms. When we first see Alexandrite, she has all kinds of extra shit.
3 sets of arms, 3 mouths, 2 faces almost.
Like even Garnet herself, you know, Garnet, you know, as perfect as she looks, she has 3 eyes.
Though with Garnet, it has a bit of a different purpose with the way the fusion is treated.
Yeah, so there's a huge fan theory going around. And actually, I think Garnet does actually confirm this as well. Actually, no, you know what? I think this is pretty much confirmed. Fusion is the resulted fusion between, you know, 2 or more gems will actually take on a more humanoid look, depending on how close of a relationship, or depending on how equal of goals the 2 fusions have together when they do fuse. Mm-hmm. Ruby and Sapphire are in love with each other, so obviously when they fuse, they have this Garnet, which is a really humanoid look. Sure, they have an extra eye, but it's literally the only extra thing they have, which represents, yeah, not all relationships are perfect. They're going to bicker here and there, but they're still really close.
In fact, if I could go into Garnet, there's actually 2 things I want to bring up about that eye. I don't mean to cut you off, Danny, but there's actually 2 things that I actually think that eye actually is something that's perfect for Garnet, because it perfectly encapsulates what Garnet is, and it is representative of the power Garnet gains from being a fusion of true love.
Oh, that's right. Her
because
eye does grant her fusion.
Yeah, because there's the blue and red eye, which are Garnet and Sapphire, Ruby and Sapphire. Sorry, but it's also shown. One thing is interesting is that the eyes are actually opposite to the palms, and we always notice like she uses the same side hand to wipe away a tear. So in this case, it's always the The one that is...
Well, actually, you know what, Kenshi, I'm sorry to cut you off. I brought that up to Lindsay at one point, but then Lindsay brought up a really good point to me that kind of just shot on my little theory there. Keep in mind the idea of left brain and a right brain, whereas your the right side of your brain controls your left arm, and the left side of your brain controls your right arm, but it's opposite for your eyes. As well.
Ah, all right. Well, that's still... I always thought it was kind of cute, but there's also...
I thought it was cute too, but then Lindsay went and shat on it for me. Like, damn it, Lindsay.
There's this basic understanding of relationships my dad taught me because he's been married for a year longer than I've been alive, and I'm 26 now. This is a big thing a lot of people fuck up in their marriages, especially the first or second one, because they don't understand that when you are married, even though you are bringing your lives together, you're not sewn together. And there's still you, there is still your partner, and there is us. You know, the point in which you two are together. But there is still a separation of you two because you cannot have a happy relationship 100% together. There is still 1 and 2, and then there is the 1 and 2. And in a way, that's what Garnet's eyes represent. There is the ruby eye, there is the sapphire eye, and then there is the eye that is clearly both of them.
Yeah.
Yep. So in a way, that third eye almost completely represents perfectly what it means to be in a near perfect relationship. There is the one side, this other side, and then there's that point where they come together.
In which case, then there was that one exception of the fusion that I brought up before, where the only fusion we've seen that's literally been perfect in every single way in terms of a humanoid, and that's actually Steven and Connie's fusion.
And that's actually what I was going to bring up before Kenshi cut me off. Is like, yeah, when Steven and Connie fuse together, there's no extra limbs, no extra eyes, no nothing. It is just a very tall human girl. But I think it's like, I don't know, it could be argued that, maybe it's a special exception simply because Steven is half human and he's merging with a human. Or, but at the same time, we also know how close Steven and Connie are. So it's like, that kind of goes back to, harkens back to everything with Garnet. We're not quite sure what's going on there. But, so it could just be, okay, maybe it's just a special case just because it's fucking Steven. Or it just could be, yeah, that's how close Steven and Connie are. There's nothing wrong with them.
It's like, what I really want to see right now, I want to see Steven fuse with a different human. Like, if Steven ends up fusing with any other human, and he does end up with multiple limbs, that pretty much confirms this theory.
Indeed. I think the best candidate for this theory is Lars.
Oh God, help us all!
No.
Please fuse with Lars, Steven.
Oh God, if he fuses with Lars, or if he fuses with Ronaldo or Onion.
Oh God,
no! Don't do it. No,
not
that'll be.
I don't. Is Onion even human? Even Steven questions if Onion's human, so we don't even know if that he's compatible.
I know, but still, it's fucking funny. You must admit.
It would be ridiculous. Onion.
In my personal opinion, I think outside of Connie, if there was any one other human that I possibly could see Steven fusing with, and this is a fucking stretch, I probably would say it would be Sadie. Because he and Sadie are pretty close.
Yeah, there's a reasonable room for Sadie and him getting into a dance of some kind.
Or something Sadie's the kind of person that kind of comes off where it's push. We've seen push comes to shove, she will fight. So that's where it's again, it's a little bit of a stretch because I'm not sure if I'd ever see her in that situation. But it's then again, I don't ever see Lars or any of them in that situation either.
I could see it working out to where I'm thinking either Connie or Garnet actually suggests Steven try to fuse with another human to see if your theory does hold up, because they're curious, because Stevani is again such a perfect fusion.
I don't think Garnet would bring that up, because I'm pretty sure she's already aware of the capabilities and how it actually works. She even brings up with Kenshi brought up another fusion before called Malachite, which is actually a fusion between two other gems that we'll talk about later, named Lapis Lazuli and Jasper.
Yes.
The two of them fused out of pure regret. They hated each other, but they only fused because like, Jasper, but they had with two totally different goals. Jasper wanted to fuse with Lapis because she wanted to get stronger to beat Garden. Lapis wanted to fuse with Jasper because she wanted to stop Jasper.
And drag her into the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah.
Malachi is a horrible monster-looking thing with so many limbs. Like she's full.
Instead of legs, it's an extra pair of arms.
She has 6
Like
arms.
there's that. She's got the eye. Like okay.
Are you eating?
Not right now.
Are you recording?
Yes, I am.
I told you you have to put something here to let me know. Recording. I'm not kidding. Because I keep doing this.
Hi, Danny's mom.
Yeah.
Or a sticker. We got to figure out a way.
Yeah.
I do not disturb sign.
Yeah. She'd ignore it anyway.
Whatever. In any other case,
Any hoozle.
segues. I mean, this is a show about moms. So, I mean.
Yeah. But
anyway.
But yeah, like Malachite,
so,
I think it's like with Malachite, it was like, yeah, she had like extra eyes. I think she had arms instead of legs. I mean, it was like it was by far the most weird, like abstract looking one of the bunch, and which makes sense considering the reasons why this thing exists.
We'll get to that later. Aside from the
And
cluster,
there are some fan theories about Jasper herself, especially given Jasper's striped coloration, which is something that the clusters kind of made people wonder what Jasper is, because again her coloration is nearly the same.
In any which case, like not to stray from the topic. Malachite was get to the point. Malachite was born from hate, and Garnet brings that up, how they were born from hate and distrust. So because of that, their fusion's unstable and potentially very dangerous. So actually, come to think of it, there is a point in one of the flashbacks where Pearl does bring up, or even though she's being super salty about it, to Greg, where she says that how fusion is the ultimate connection between two gems.
By the way, Greg is Steven's dad.
I'm pretty sure we brought it
Yeah.
up.
No, we didn't. We have yet to talk about the awesomeness that is Steven's dad.
Well, we brought up that Greg
Alright.
was his dad.
Alright, I think we're pretty much done with fusion at this point. Let's get into other characters, since we keep bringing them up, and I'm pretty sure no one knows who the hell they are anyway. Let's start with Greg.
He's like, yes, the awesomeness that is Steven's dad. It's
Dad mom.
Yeah, it
Dad
is.
mom.
It is so funny though, just because it's like all throughout like season 1, I mean, Greg pops up here and there. He's kind of like the comedy relief and everything. Very cautious but supportive dad nonetheless. But then it's like and all the focus. It basically came off as Rose was, the awesome parent, and then there's Greg, who's just, comedy relief goofball dad. But especially, like, towards the end of season 1, and especially in season 2, when we start seeing, like, how Greg met Rose Quartz and everything, I think the roles kind of reversed when it came to the fans. Now everybody loves Greg.
Yeah, Greg, for the most part, like, Greg met Rose, like, 20-something years before Steven was born. So they were together for 10 years, and then Steven was born, and that was it. And that was it for Greg. Or, not Greg, Rose. Greg, initially, he dropped out of college. He was a, he was an aspiring rock star. He wanted to start his own band. He came to Beach City with his manager. That's when he met Rose. And then he decided to quit that business and just stay with Rose because he fell in love with her at first sight.
And his manager was a douche.
Yeah, fuck Marty. Marty's a fuckboy.
Marty, he's dead to me.
Anyway, so Greg, he stayed with, So after, we've seen in season 2 little bits and pieces of what, how, what it was first like for them, how, when, Greg first met Rose, to like a few months after they started dating, like how they kind of had to talk it out and figure out how this relationship was going to work between Human and Gem.
Yeah, that's actually that's actually another one of the reasons why I absolutely love Greg and everything is because
he's a very nice. He's just a nice guy,
right? But it's like even like when he first sees Fusion for the first time and he thinks oh, maybe I can try and fuse with Rose, but then he finds out no, that's not the case, and he tries to tell Rose this, and Rose she's been on Earth for a very, very long time, as you know, and she loves humans, finds them very entertaining and everything, and, you know, Greg is no exception here. So when he tells her that, you know, he was trying to fuse, you know, she's like, oh, this is just so funny, like, she's laughing it off, and Greg is like, he's like devastated by this and everything, you know, he's just like, you know, Rose, stop laughing, you know, I want to talk about this. It's like, he took the relationship very seriously from the very beginning, and it's like, Rose, I guess, like, you know, kind of didn't at first, until they started finding a common ground, and then we started to see, you know, the two of them together. But from the very beginning, Greg was taking the relationship very, very seriously.
Yeah, like there's even like little things that Greg says in those flashbacks that I just really like. How he when he was talking to like Marty about Rose, and then Marty replies like, you know, that's your problem, Greg. You just want one big woman when you can have multiple smaller ones. And Greg's reply to that was, you know, Marty, women are people. Like little things like that I just really like.
Yeah.
But even then, like Greg is just an overall really nice guy. Yeah, he makes his mistakes, of course, like just like any character. I can't think of a single character in the show that didn't make some kind of mistake.
It's not even really just any character. It's like it's like symbolic in a way, just like every human being.
Yeah, like even the gems are they're just very human in their characteristics. But Greg is like Greg, for the most part, he's pretty deadbeat, I guess, in terms of his like he owns a local car wash, but he lives in his van. Like he doesn't even get to live with Steven because the gems don't want him interfering with their magic gem stuff. But he still supports Steven. Like he'll you know, he's the one who supplies their funds for Steven, you know, so Steven can eat and such. You know, he tries to be there for Steven when he can. He's working hard as a car washman. He's the only guy working at that car wash. So he doesn't have any employees.
Yeah,
he can't afford to pay
he is by no means a deadbeat dad. You know, he's doing all he can for Steven.
Yeah, he loves Steven so much. He's just
like there was an episode where like Greg, I think, like broke his leg or something, and Steven, you know, he's like, I have healing spit, I can heal you, Dad. And it turns out, yeah, he ends up healing him, but Greg actually faked that it didn't work just simply because he wanted to spend more time with Steven.
Yeah.
But it was like, you know, throughout that episode, like, you know, Steven's trying to go on missions, but then Greg's calling him back and everything, and it's for like the most minor things, and then like, you know, the whole secret gets out that, you know, Greg was healed the whole time and everything. And, you know, that was when Greg came to that realization. He's like, yes, I want to spend time with my son and everything, but I can't keep holding him back.
And actually, he does try to make up to it, like, because like the mission that they went on to fix it, like Greg ends up doing it himself and actually does save the day, you know, because he felt bad. He wanted to set things right.
Yeah,
so.
And then there was and it's like there was another episode where they were getting like this weird like signal, and they didn't know what it was. It just sounded like this like really loud like shrilling noise, and they didn't know what it was. They're just like, make it stop, make it stop. And of all people to actually decode what the signal was, it was actually Greg. And Greg played around with it because at first he thought, oh, it's an audio signal, but then it turned out it was a video signal. And, you know, given with his past as a rock star and everything, he's very familiar with how video works. So he was, so he was able to figure this out. And then it turned out, you know, oh, it was actually a message. Like, I think that was like one of the episodes, I think, that started the first Steven bomb, I think.
It was one of them.
Yeah, it was like the first or second episode, I think, that started the first Steven bomb. Because pretty much right after that was when shit went downhill.
I think that may have been Tuesday's episode. When I think of that first Tuesday episode. Either way. Okay, so yeah, Greg.
Yeah, I think suffice to say, it was like, you know, yeah, it's kind of like I said before, throughout season 1, it was like, oh, Steven's awesome because, you know, he's so adorable and he's so awesome because of his mom, because everyone goes crazy about his mom. I say, fuck that shit, Steven is awesome because of Greg.
and what I do also really like about Greg as well, he's not like this ignorant person who's just like, oh, magic stuff, I'll just stay out of the way. He does understand it completely because he did spend so much time with Rose. He's very familiar with what happened, what they do. He just knows to stay out of the way because he knows he can't really do anything about it. Like,
yeah, what's he gonna do? He's very aware that he's not in shape. He's not very strong. He's not, very wise. He's just kind of a regular dude, and he knows his limitations as a regular dude.
I still think one of my favorite moments with Greg ever was that episode where Steven was trying to get him, Sadie, and Lars to work out, and Greg started lifting the weights, and Pearl's walking by. He's like, "Hey, Pearl, want to see these awesome studs?" And Pearl's kind of looks at him for a second, and it's just like, "No," and just walks off.
I he was driving everybody in the van, and he's playing music, and he's like, "So, Garnet, what do you think?" Her response, she just jumps out of the van and rolls on the ground. Yeah, she's just like, "Yeah, nope."
Nope. Oh boy.
Alright, but yeah, it's I think that's enough gushing about Greg. Let's talk about get a little bit more details into another character that we keep bringing up, and that's Steven's girlfriend, Connie.
Oh yes, well, Connie, the swordsman.
We'll refer to her as his girlfriend, but officially right now they're not actually dating. They're
but
just really close
it's
friends.
plainly obvious that that's where it's going.
That's where it's going. Sure, that's where it's going. They're so cute together. They really are. And it's not like but they're not doing anything explicitly romantic. They're just
they're just kids.
They're just kids having fun. But they're so cute together.
And let's remember, they managed to fuse twice.
Yeah, so it's they kind of have that under their belt.
Well, actually, you know what? Something we completely forgot to mention: the process of fusing. Gems are able to fuse when they dance in sync together.
Yeah.
So
every gem's got their own different dance style. Like Pearl does ballet, Amethyst does club dancing.
And I'm still sad we have yet to see Opal. We've seen Opal twice, but we've not seen how they managed to bring these two dance styles together.
Well, regardless of that, so
it's there is a style. There is a style for Garnet's dancing. I don't remember what it's called though, but there is a term for it. Steven's kind of has no rhythm. Let's just put it lightly. The boy has no rhythm.
The two times when Steven and Connie were able to fuse, yeah, they were dancing together, but they were just playing. They weren't trying to fuse. They were just playing together. Like the first time they fused, it was Connie was kind of confessing some of her insecurities to Steven, how she doesn't really like dancing or singing in front of other people, and Steven, convinced her, let's just dance together. There's no one else watching. You can trust me. So they started dancing, and they got to the point where they were just having so much fun, and then Steven trips and Connie catches him, and that's when they fused into Stevani. And then the second time was when they were helping out Greg sort his records. And Greg was decided to show one of Connie one of his favorite records because she never heard it, and Steven and Connie were just dancing to it together to it. All they were literally they were just holding hands and just spinning in circles, and that was enough to get them to fuse, and that's what led to the hilarious internal screaming from Greg.
Yeah, I'm sure BJ will splice in that clip or a picture of it or something just for everybody to see.
I'll splice in funny. I'll just go to Tumblr and find shit tons of gifs. I know they're there.
Okay.
In which case, so Connie in general, Connie is kind of a tragic character at first though, because she's a very insecure girl. She's very much a loner. At first she was very much a loner. Her father's work kind of make her family travel a lot. So she's only been at Beach City for a while. Steven, he caught a glimpse of her. I think. Was it implied that Steven actually had a direct crush on her, or was it that he was just trying to give her back?
He was originally just trying to give her back her thing.
He was just trying to bring back, she had a glow ring or something at a parade, and she dropped it. He saw it, and he wanted to give it back to her, because he's a nice kid.
Yeah, he had some difficulties, talking to her about it. People, speculate that could be, Steven's just, too bashful, about talking to her because he had a crush on her. I think it's more so just that, because that was the first time we really ever saw Steven meet somebody new. So we never really saw before that how Steven met new people. So that could just be how he tries to communicate with new people, especially when he's the one trying.
Right.
But in which case, so, when they did first meet, he tried giving her back the ring, or the glow stick, whatever. And but because of something that was going on with one of the gems, or a feral gem, I should say, not one of the crystal gems. Connie was almost hurt by a falling rock, and Steven saved her with a bubble on accident. And that was the first time he brought up the bubble. So they were trapped in this giant bubble for a while. That was literally indestructible. Like, they couldn't even get a harpoon to break it. And while Steven was trying to keep her calm, saying don't worry, I'll find a way out of this. And eventually Connie breaks down, saying no, you don't know what you're doing, but it doesn't matter because the only people that'll even notice that I'm gone are my parents, because no one else cares about me. I have no friends. That's when Steven's just like, well, I'll be your friend. So literally, Steven is Connie's only friend, and so Connie is as time passes, she's able to be more and more comfortable with Steven, but this does lead to some more and more tragedies because Connie is aware of what's going on with Steven's powers. So because of this, she's so afraid that her parents will judge him on this about the magical stuff. So at first she is, well, even kind of now, she was lying to her parents about Steven. Actually, mostly at first she was lying about Steven's family. Like she told her parents how Steven had a flat out father and mother, when that wasn't true. He had a father, but his mother was dead. He had 3 caretakers. So but then later on we still see that Connie's still so afraid of losing her only friend that she's still lying to her parents about him. She's still keeping from them what she's been doing with Steven regarding the magical stuff. And she's so afraid that if they find out, she'll lose Steven, and she'll lose her only friend.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's also important to note that, one of the little quirks about Connie, it's very obvious she is a fantasy fan. She is very much a lovable little nerd. So she introduced Steven to her favorite book series, just so they can talk about it and everything. And there was an entire episode where it's she loved this book series, but she hated how it ended. And Steven's like, well, why don't we make up our own ending? And then shit got real. So it's very obvious that she likes this kind of fantasy stuff, which I think is probably why she probably warmed up to Steven and the gems so quickly, because it's all this fantasy stuff and it's actually real, and she probably just jumped all over it. Because, if I was in her situation, I'd probably be the exact same way. Yeah, it's like, like magic shit? Yeah, fuck that, I'm down.
She's such a realistic nerd, too, which is the funniest thing. Because, when she was showing Steven that book series, Steven didn't really understand how it worked at that point. At that point, actually, coincidentally enough, Steven was grounded from TV at that point because because like I said previously, Connie was lying to her parents about who Steven's family was, and because of a little mishap with Garnet, panicking when Connie's mother wanted to talk to her, or talk to Steven's mother, quote unquote. They wanted to get together to dinner to make sure so Connie's parents can make sure that Steven's family was good, safe enough or good enough for Connie to still be able to play with. And Steven's reasoning for this was well, I need to bring a mother to dinner, so how about all 3 of you fuse into Alexandrite, and then and you'll all be my mom. So of course,
and hijinks ensued.
Yeah, so of course Greg comes, and then they walk in on this 50 foot tall lady, and of course that it didn't end well. So Connie was so afraid, that because the jig was up, they find out they were lying. Connie was so afraid of losing Steven, she suggested to Steven that they just run away. So they tried to, but then
Garnet is like, get out of that bus.
Well, no, not Garnet, Alexandrite, because they fused back into Alexandrite.
Yeah.
And then the 2 kids got grounded for it. But Connie's parents did at least see that Pearl, Amethyst, and Garnet were responsible caretakers, because they did ground Steven for what he did. They were punishing him, and Connie's parents were so impressed by that. I was like, okay, you can still play with Steven. You can still hang out.
Yeah, they were just impressed by the fact that they said you are grounded from TV for 1,000 years.
Well, it started with,
and they were like, oh, that's a good one.
Well, no, remember they grounded him from food for 1,000 years, and It's like,
And they said, no, that's too harsh. No TV for 1,000 years.
But getting back to why I initially brought this up. So yeah, Connie did, lend Steven her favorite book series. Because he had no TV, because interesting that because even though Steven had no TV, he actually did pick up on books pretty well. Like he actually got interested in books for a while. So Connie gave him her favorite book series, and it was so funny just how pitiful Steven was trying. Like he wasn't reading the books in order. And like he was getting all confused, and he didn't understand a bunch of things, and Connie was just nerding out about it. Like, like she pretty much reacted the same way I would react if someone was being a total noob on my favorite series.
Right? Yeah, she's like, didn't you start with the first book? Which is the first one? It's like, which one are you starting with? The one that had the coolest cover.
And she was just like, no.
It's like you started in the middle of the series.
Yeah, Connie does have a lot of dilemma. Like she's a very insecure girl, and she's so afraid of losing Steven. We brought up all that.
Yeah, which actually brings us, I think, if anything, probably to the most recent development, where it's like
even before that, Danny. Because remember what happened? I brought up before how when Steven finally, began to understand the situation of what was going on with the gems and the gem homeworld, how they wanted to invade Earth. He was this close to telling Connie off, to tell her to go away, because he didn't want her to get hurt. And eventually he couldn't do it because he still wanted to be friends with her. He knew he'd miss her so bad. Yeah. But Connie made a big deal about how, if you really don't want to be my friend anymore, say it to my face. Don't say it over the phone. Don't say it over text. Just say it to my face, and I'll go back to having no friends. She was also subconsciously really trying to guilt trip her. So.
Yeah. But, as I was saying, I think this brings us to the most recent development. This was actually the first episode of the second Steven bomb, which only happened a couple of weeks ago. I think if anything, before we just loved Connie because, oh, she's just an adorable little nerd. She's just perfect for him. They're so cute. I think now Connie's kind of gone up to badass level now. So, because Connie, because she knows of everything that Steven's going through and everything, and she does want to help. She realizes she can't do magic shit and everything because she's a human, but she's like, but there's still got to be something I can do to help because, I care for Steven, I care for the Earth, I'm a human being, don't I have the right to help fight? So Steven is like, hey, I have an idea. Let's have Pearl teach her how to sword fight. And it turns out she's really good at it.
Yeah, Pearl saw her as an exceptional student. She was so good at it. But that also led to something else between Pearl actually passing off her own insecurities to Connie, who was already insecure as it was. And that actually ended up leading to some more mishap. Because we brought up before how Pearl was so devoted to Rose. And it actually delved deeper into that. It was more than just devotion. It was more obsession. Like Pearl was willing to die for Rose, and she passed off that ideology to Connie.
Yeah.
Except for Steven. Like she was effectively training Connie, to be a great sword fighter, but also really to be a pawn to Steven.
Yeah.
Right, so it's like, Steven is everything, you are nothing, and you will fight, and if you have to, you will die so that he is safe. And Connie was willing to go all with it. And Steven, when he saw this, was like, nope, not letting this happen.
Yeah, so.
Oh, yeah.
And of course, Steven didn't want that because he wants to see all of his friends as his equals, not as his underlings.
Right.
So.
He's like, yeah, Connie, if you're gonna fight, I want you to fight with me. And then it's like, and then it's like we actually get like a very short but pretty awesome fight, like a duel between Connie, Steven, and Pearl. Like, Pearl's saying, Steven, get out of the way, this is training, she must duel me. And Steven's like, nope, we're fighting together. So you see Connie with the sword, you see Steven with his shield, and they're going after Pearl. It's like, whoa. I guess this is going to be foreshadowing for, hopefully the most awesome fight that will ever come out of this series.
With Stevani, because imagine, Steven has his own natural skills with his shield and his own magical powers.
Oh god,
Connie
Connie
is now a master swordsman.
Yeah, fuse them together with the weapons, Stevani will be a fucking beast.
Oh god, yes.
I just can't wait. I'm so excited for that. Like, I can't wait for it to happen.
Besides,
No, it'll be seasons from now, but you know, I think
I don't think it's going to be seasons, Danny. Steven Universe is only confirmed to have at least 3 seasons, so we may not have to wait that long.
Yeah.
You never know.
You never do, but here's one thing I found interesting is both times the show has had an intro, Connie has always been basically predicted to have something before it happened. Like the first time we saw the intro, she was in it before we had met her, but that was true of every character. But now in the new intro, we saw her carrying Rose's sword even before she was trained how to fight with a sword. So we already know that Stevania is basically going to be Rose Quartz version 2.
Yeah.
Say more badass.
Oh yeah. If Garnet is stronger than even...
Yeah, but that's what I'm just saying. It's like currently that's where Connie is right now. You know, she's training with Pearl so that she can start joining into the fights. You know, when that will happen, we don't know, but it's pretty obvious it's gonna happen.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I guess from this point, we'll get into more humans later because at this point most of the humans are pretty much side characters. Let's talk about some other gems, shall we?
Yeah, even with that, there's not all that many other gems to really talk about. I mean, we've already brought them up, and there's pretty much like there's 2 that we've already brought up, but there's at least one other one that's made quite an impact so far.
Yeah, so let's bring up Lapis, shall we?
Yeah,
because she was the first.
Yeah, so Lapis Lazuli, when we actually first met her, she was actually like, I think she was trapped in like this mirror. It was like a hand mirror that had her gem on it, but it was cracked.
Well,
So
I wouldn't say it was so much trapped. Like, it was her gem powering the mirror. So.
Well, yeah, but I mean, Lapis as who she was and everything. I mean, she was in the mirror, and Steven, it was funny because when he got the mirror and everything, he was like talking to it and it was talking backs, and he was like, "Oh, this is cool! I got a mirror friend." He's a very naive little kid about it and stuff. But when he tried to show it to Garnet, Pearl, and Amethyst, and then then shit got real.
Yeah, because it should. Well, for one thing, it wasn't exactly talking back. It was replaying events that it saw, but not only was it re-showing the events that it saw, it was also re-showing the sound. So it was like a tape recorder sort of kind of.
Right, which is why Steven was like, "Oh, this is so awesome! I got to show the gems."
And they knew it shouldn't have been doing that, but this is the part of the gems where they knew that Lapis was in there, but they were hiding it from Steven because they were afraid of what she would do. So Steven's scared that the gems are suddenly asking for it back, and Lapis in the mirror is yelling, "No, I don't want to go with them, no." So this is the first time that Steven does kind of lash out against the gems, where Garnet's trying to reach for they grab the mirror, but Steven actually kind of in retaliation hits Garnet in the face, and this is the first time we see Garnet angry, he knocks her glasses off on accident. We see probably one of the scariest visuals from Garnet ever.
Yeah.
Just the pure rage in her 3 eyes, and then Steven runs away screaming, "I'm sorry," like any kid would after they realize they made a mistake. But then Lapis through the mirror reveals how to release her. So Steven pulls the gem out of the mirror, and then Lapis reforms, but almost, because her gem's still cracked. So she's not fully completed. She's missing her pupils and she's very weak. But she's
But Steven has healing spit.
Well, that's up till later, because Lapis, she's able to control water, which I actually did find kind of curious, interestingly enough, because the actual gem Lapis Lazuli is actually not water soluble. Like, if you leave a Lapis Lazuli in water for too long, it'll eventually just erode, like really fast, actually.
Huh.
Indeed.
So Lapis offers to take Steven away from there, but he knows not to go because that is his home. So Lapis feels betrayed, and we find out later on, she's trying to go back to the gem homeworld, but she can't get there because her gem's cracked. And then Steven fixes it for her with his healing spit, and then she flies away, and that's the last time we see her for a while.
Now, there is an interesting point in the fact that even with Pearl's knowledge of space travel, Lapis had to be traveling pretty dang fast. Or Lapis knew where there was an intergalactic warp point, because she got back to Homeworld really damn quick.
Well, I guess depending on what space travel, for space travel purposes anyway, yeah. But I don't know, what was the time frame between when she left to the next time we see her? Like, what was it in canonical time? Because I know New Year's already passed by that point. I know that much.
I can't remember for the life of me.
A couple, I'd imagine, at most a couple months, maybe half a year, because obviously they didn't have another birthday yet, which was what Ruby and Sapphire were waiting for, and that had been, it had been a few months since that at least.
Well, no, because that birthday wasn't Steven's birthday. He was celebrating the Gem's birthday on that day, even though they didn't really have one.
Well, I do believe
we've yet to see a birthday for Steven at all, haven't we?
No, I believe in 1,000 birthdays they were talking about Steven's birthday.
I don't think so.
We'll have to rewatch, but
it wasn't brought up because of Steven's birthday. It was brought up because he found out just how old the Gems were, and he made the comment on how, wow, you must have had a lot of birthdays, and they were like, what's a birthday? No, it wasn't for Steven's birthday. He was trying to celebrate the Gems' birthday.
Right.
Either way.
Yeah, so it can't be more than a couple months to half a year, because Steven hasn't had his birthday again.
And because the show is directly based around Steven's point of view, I'm pretty certain actually, the moment when we do finally get a birthday for Steven, it is going to be in an episode. So
yeah,
like they're not just going to skip it. I doubt that very highly. But anyway, back to Lapis.
Yeah.
All right, so the next time we see Lapis is actually she was the one that relayed that message to the Gems that Greg decoded. She was warning them that other homeworld Gems were going to come to Earth and invade it. And you know what? I guess screw trying to talk about them individually, because if we bring up one, we're going to eventually have to bring up the others. So other Gems in terms of that, like we do meet another Gem before that, before Lapis makes that message. Actually, right before that, a Gem named Peridot.
Oh, Peridot.
Peridot is sinister,
insane,
fucking nerdy at the same
time. Peridot is Rebecca Sugar's Invader Zim OC.
Yeah, it's like, I guess you could argue that at least throughout half of season 1, you could argue Peridot was pretty much she was the season antagonist. Like, she was the main one.
Yes.
You know, she initially came to Earth.
I mean, she kind of still is.
She mentioned she was very vague about what she wanted to do, because you know we only know as much as Steven, and Steven didn't really know much of what she was doing, because like at that point the Gems were trying to keep things a secret at the same time, and then we didn't hear much of what Peridot said. So you know we only heard a little bit about Peridot, but we knew she wanted something to do with the kindergarten, and that was already a bad sign considering what the kindergarten was.
Right. And so, you know, and I think it's also important to note that, you know, what we've seen with Garnet, Amethyst, and Pearl when it comes to, like, their abilities and everything, it's very much, you know, rooted in magic. Peridot's is a little bit more, it looks like it's more technology-based.
Like science.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's like, you know, and she's coming from the Gem homeworld. So I guess that should, you know, should kind of give, like, I guess that's probably foreshadowing for seeing, like, you know, how much maybe like gem culture, how much homeworld has changed throughout, like, you know, these thousands of years since that rebellion.
Oh god, you know what I just realized?
What?
So Peridot is a Gem, probably one of the few Gems that was able to, amplify her powers with science. But because she's a Gem, it's probably safe to say that she does have some magical abilities as well, right?
Yeah, probably. To an extent, yeah.
Who else do we know who was able to utilize both science and magic as well as wore green? Dr. Doom.
I was like, where are you going with this?
If Peridot becomes the new Dr. Doom, I'm gonna laugh so hard. Oh well. Anyway,
that took a second to click.
Peridot actually meets the Gems for the first time, which via like video sequence. Like she sends some pods like that she created. to Earth to try to do something in the kindergarten, and the gems happened to be there already. Well, actually, no, they followed the pods there because they kept coming to Earth one after another. And I love Garnet's reaction to that too, because they kept destroying them whenever they made it there, because they didn't want them to do whatever they were doing. And Steven was just like, let's just follow them, because let's just follow them, see what they're up to. And Pearl was just like, no, it's a terrible idea. And Garnet's reply was like, we can't keep doing this forever. Well, we can, but I don't want to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, and that's what, it's actually like the second time we're brought to the kindergarten is getting Peridot into it and everything, because like when she first arrives and everything, she was talking about the kindergarten, which for a very long time, a lot of people were speculating like, oh, is she trying to reactivate the kindergarten? Is she trying to pick up where the home world left off?
Danny,
All that kind of stuff.
Interestingly enough, she showed up before we were even introduced to the kindergarten. So she brought up the name, but we didn't know what it was until Amethyst's episode.
I guess, but regardless, at least up until this recent Steven bomb, there was a lot of speculation as to what exactly Peridot was trying to accomplish. Because like all the times that we'd seen her, the gems, they were just constantly interrupting her plans. Even though we had no idea what the fuck they were always stopping it. So if we had no idea,
the first actual time anyway at the kindergarten, that was when Peridot first became aware of Steven and the crystal gems. And it was right after that when Lapis, sent the message saying, some gems are going to be coming to Earth, are coming to Earth, they want to do something there. And then, that's when, Peridot comes to Earth in a giant, space hand. This is during the Steven bomb. Shit got really real.
Yeah, this is how. Mind you, this was how season 1 and the first Steven bomb ended.
Indeed.
But it was like, but
Peridot
yeah, I was like,
she's accompanied by another gem named Jasper, which we also brought up previously as well.
Right, and she brought Jasper because she felt she needed an escort. Because every time she kept trying to go to Earth, the gems were stopping her.
Well, not intentionally. She only really made it to Earth before that once, and she didn't know the gems were there because she saw the sticker that Steven left on the transport pad, and then she just left because she felt that the area was compromised. She didn't know about the gems until the second time, but she wasn't actually directly on Earth. It was through a video feed.
But but even so, they were still interfering.
Well, that was the only time they interfered until they came back.
Actually, no, because you already mentioned they were destroying all of her pods. So they were literally just throwing all of Peridot's plans.
Yeah, like they were destroying her pods. They destroyed like the station that she was at and everything. I mean, that's why she even said to Jasper, "Is like they keep breaking my stuff."
Well, but she didn't immediately know it was them until that. Yeah, yeah, I get you. So then, like, interestingly enough, so Jasper herself, Jasper is this huge muscle-headed gem. She's even taller. I'm pretty sure she herself is a single gem.
Yeah, she's about as big as rose quartz.
Yeah, she's already a really big gem.
Yeah.
So she herself is already inherently strong. So and interestingly enough, it's implied also that she was also in one of the gem wars or the gem war that was fought all those years ago. She planned initially just going there, to help escort Peridot, and they decided, before we head to the kindergarten to do whatever it is you need to do, Peridot, let's destroy these gems and get them out of the way. Of course, Steven saves them with his shield, and then that became Jasper's main focus when he realized that Steven was Rose Quartz. Actually, even more interestingly enough, she thought that Steven was just flat out Rose Quartz, just taking the form of a random human.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And of course, they replied. They also went ahead and brought Lapis because Lapis was the one that knew how to get there. Lapis still tried to defend Steven. Lapis could have cared less about the other gems. She was just trying to protect Steven. And
this is a recurring thing about Lapis. While she isn't very fond of the crystal gems themselves, she doesn't seem to directly hold any ill will towards them, but she is very protective now of Steven, to the point of literally giving herself up to hold Jasper at the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah, because after they escape all that stuff, Jasper, because before that, Jasper was the one that poofed Garnet, reverting her back to Ruby and Sapphire, and they split them up in these jail cells on their ship. But Steven was able to escape because none of their gem technology was able to work on Steven because he was a human and they just didn't affect him. So that's how they were ultimately able to escape. And once they brought the ship back to Earth and it crash landed back on their island, coincidentally enough, because that shit could have landed anywhere. Jasper tried. Yeah, Jasper wanted to fuse with Lapis, so that way she could have more of a chance against Garnet, because Garnet beat her the first time, and Jasper blamed her losing was because Garnet was a fusion. But even though Lapis was reluctant, she chose to fuse with Jasper, only to take control of Malachite entirely, and then drag her to the bottom of the ocean and hold her down there with the ocean's weight.
Yes.
Right.
And that's the last time we see them until actually the most recent episode. So
Yeah, which I guess we can now finally start talking about. At least with this last Steven Bomb, the second Steven Bomb, because this was the latest time that we got to see Peridot, Lapis, and Jasper. All three of them we got to see again in this second Steven Bomb.
Yes.
And, it's like, yeah, we got a lot of new shit from all three of them, to be honest.
Peridot herself, she escaped when the crystal gems took over the ship. She escaped onto Earth, and she was stuck there for a while. So that's what happened to her.
She managed to find her way back to kindergarten, though.
Yeah, she managed to find her way, and we finally got a glimpse of what it was that Peridot was really doing. Because, it was like a
fucked up thing I've seen in the show yet.
No, but it's like, let me finish. It was like I said, people were speculating that, she's just trying to reactivate the kindergarten and continue where Homeworld left off. But it turned out that that's not the case at all. Because, even though she was there, the machines and everything, they were still broken down. They weren't activated. So that was what prompted Garnet and Steven to want to further investigate while Pearl and Amethyst were going after Peridot with her helicopter fingers. Which is pretty amusing in and of itself. But,
I'm still surprised that she managed to get away. I mean, Pearl is a bird.
But even so, that's like so when they got to so when they were investigating and everything, and they were seeing like the station that she was in and stuff. This was when we got to see, what BJ argues as, probably the most fucked up form of fusion, and it's mostly just because what Homeworld is doing is, we had brought up before how gems cannot die unless their crystals are shattered. Like, once their gems are shattered, that's it. They're pretty much done.
And something else we actually forgot to bring up as well. There's some hinting that Homeworld in general kind of frowns upon the idea of fusion. Probably because it is the way that gems, are able to connect them, most fondly. And Homeworld, as far as we've heard so far, is a pretty much a barbarian world. That it's a dictatorship world. It's a conquest world. So anything that can distract from that, like the idea of love or romance, which is apparently what fusion represents, is just taboo to them.
That's what it represents to Garnet, at least.
Yeah.
But
Yes, and this
it's
is
like
something.
but but basically what's going on is the Homeworld. I'm assuming, for all we know, maybe it was because of these recent events, or, maybe it was because... I think it's probably more so maybe, like, as a result of the rebellion from way back then, or at least this is my speculation, that even though, like, people like Jasper frown upon fusion and they kind of value, like, their own individuality, their own strength, I think this kind of proved that, to an extent, Homeworld... They definitely take notice of the power of fusion. They're just going about it the wrong way. They are actually trying to force the fusions. They're taking all the shattered gems, and I'm at least speculating, from the rebellion, most likely, because
that was actually confirmed.
Because we see through Garnet, we actually do see Ruby and Sapphire talking to each other through Garnet, and they were bringing up how this is why we couldn't find all these pieces. They were here this whole time. This is punishment for the rebellion and everything.
Well, not just that. Remember what Garnet said before she almost split up because she was so scared of that monster. She said she was talking to herself. She said these were all crystal gems shattered into pieces. Now, we kept differentiating between saying crystal gems and just gems. Gems are just the name of the species in general. Crystal gems is the name of the rebellion on Earth.
Indeed.
It's the name of the team.
Right. So basically, what Homeworld is doing is they're experimenting with the fusion process. They're just using their fallen comrades as the test subjects. And that's when shit got fucked up, because you got like this Frankenstein beast like hybrid and everything. Like you were seeing, like, as these shards were coming together, you were seeing like the silhouettes of what these gems probably were, like pretty much being forced together before they, before you started seeing like what they ultimately became.
And
it's like, I mean,
cluster.
yeah, and it's
Cluster.
like, yeah, it was really, really fucked up. And I mean, yeah, it hit Garnet. It hit Garnet hard and everything. I mean, it's like we said, Garnet views fusion very differently from everybody else. To her, it is an intimate relationship. That's not necessarily the case for everybody. So for Garnet to see, these fusions of their former comrades, mind you, where it's like, okay, their comrades can't even rest in peace anymore. They're pretty much being like, taken apart and forced together as fusion. Because Garnet's like, this is not fusion. This is wrong. And yeah, it really fucked with her head there for a couple of minutes.
The cluster.
She almost unfused, but that was mostly because, like, people speculated that she was unfusing because she was so scared. We find out actually though that she was unfusing because this was probably the first time in millennia that Ruby and Sapphire themselves were actually conflicted. Because we see previously, like with Opal or with Opal or other fusions, where a fusion will fall apart if the parties that fuse them together start losing track, start gaining like different tracks. Like if they start disagreeing on something, and then that'll cause them to fall apart. This was the first time that Ruby and Sapphire themselves, probably in millennia, were arguing about something. Because like Ruby felt so strongly about this. Like she was like
angry.
She was angry, whereas Sapphire was just trying to understand the situation and was trying to make sure that this wasn't our fault. Ruby was blaming herself, Sapphire wasn't. So
yeah.
Indeed. If I may go to how Danny was talking about how fucked up this is and how fusion is so intimate. The reason why the cluster is so fucked up, besides looking like a multicolored Frankenstein of arms, is ultimately, when you get down to it, the cluster is basically the closest thing to rape that the gems could ever go through, being forced together like that.
Yeah, trigger warning, by the way.
What?
I actually did bring this up in my thoughts for a theory that I brought up on Tumblr and such. The idea, cause it's just based on how Garnet worded it. She brought up how these gems weren't given a choice. They weren't given any consent. They were forced into this kind of thing. Like, I know a lot of people like to assume that fusion is like sex for gems. It isn't. But I want to say the metaphor is kind of there, because like there's nothing dirty about it. There's nothing sexual about it. But the metaphor of sex is the idea of two people coming together, doing something that they both want to do, and having fun doing it,
and benefiting from it in the end.
Yeah, and benefiting from it in the end, and that's effectively what fusion is. At the same time, two gems coming together who need to properly get in sync with each other, and then benefiting from it in the end for getting more powerful. See, the idea of these shattered gems being literally smashed together and forcing to fuse into these things that are just ugly and terrible. That it's the same kind of concepts, as terrible as it may sound. But I think this is really just a way. It's really just a really, really brilliant way for the Steven Universe writers to sneak in this kind of idea where it's like, consent really is everything. Otherwise, because if you try to do something without someone's consent, the result is just going to be something really terrible or really ugly, just like the cluster.
And
this is
Malachite.
And Malachite.
Well,
even that one was more consenting. Like, yeah, they did it out of reluctantly out of hatred, but they still consented to each other.
Yeah. Otherwise, it wouldn't, like, at least with Malachite, compared to the cluster of fusions that we
like that. You saw Jasper. She was peer pressuring Lapis, but she was still asking her. Like Jasper knew that she wouldn't have been able to fuse with Lapis if Lapis said no.
Right.
If Lapis refused, she wouldn't have been able to fuse.
But there was still the massive amount of backfire that came from such a thing as well, which Yeah.
But overall, there was still
Yeah,
consensus.
it was
Lapis
still better
said
than
yes.
the cluster of fusions that was presented
Yeah, which
in that one
is
episode.
when you get down to it, is even more twisted when you consider that those are supposed to be dead.
Yeah, you know what? And that's even gonna scare you apart. Like, because it may as well be like a type of Frankenstein.
Yeah,
Because
because that's how.
it's
Yeah, because yeah, I mean that's like honestly, when I saw the episode, this whole thing with rape and everything, I was not seeing that whatsoever. I was seeing more of like, you know, this was a Frankenstein monster, but I was also seeing this as, you know, yeah, punishment for the rebellion. Their comrades can no longer even rest in peace and honor or anything. You know, they're basically being forced to fuse and fight again.
Yeah, that's one way to look at it,
Like,
but I also see...
that's how I was seeing it. And I mean, from what we've seen, even through Jasper and everything, there is a sense of honor that they have when they fight and everything. Because I mean, Jasper even admitted that, you know, even though Rose Quartz was her enemy, she still respected her. She still respected her tactics and everything. So, and we see, and you know, we do see this with the main three as well. So that's kind of where I was seeing this more so as, you know, their fallen comrades are being forced to fight again, and, you know, they can no longer rest in peace. Like, that's what I was seeing.
And I actually think that would be interesting if, like, because, like, remember, like, when we see on the ship how Peridot didn't want to go back to Homeworld just yet, even though Jasper told them they need to because Rose Quartz takes priority. Peridot didn't want to leave because she wanted she needed to check on the cluster, and Jasper really had no interest in it whatsoever. She was more concerned about Rose Quartz's gem. So, as far as we're aware, Jasper may not even know what the cluster is, and I think it'd be really interesting if, like, when she does figure it out, like, if Jasper herself is against it.
Yeah, because Jasper did mention she considered fusion weak. It's, in her own words, a tactic to make weak gems stronger.
So then to see someone like Peridot, like, forcing these gems together in these experiments, like, I wouldn't be surprised if Jasper just despised that kind of thing.
Heck, it might be what makes both Lapis and Jasper become part of the team. Like, if Jasper...
I doubt that.
Well, a lot of people have pointed out that Jasper, while she doesn't like Rose Quartz, you mentioned it, she respects her. If she knew Homeworld was doing this, and especially since Jasper does come off as someone who values honor and strength, especially strength in herself, she would probably not want to return to Homeworld. She'd feel like Homeworld was trying to figure out ways to basically make her obsolete.
Well, that also depends on how Homeworld works. Keep in mind, something we've actually failed to mention this whole time, another theory going around, the idea that Homeworld itself may actually be of a multi-monarch. Yeah,
that's also something that's we've kind of left out of the loop, because
you know what, actually, come to think of it, there's another gem that's so far only been mentioned. We've never seen it yet, and that comes in the form of yellow diamond. Jasper mentions this yellow diamond once, but we've never seen this yellow diamond as of yet.
Indeed.
And as we know, a diamond is probably one of the hardest gems out there. So of course, we can assume, it is the hardest gem. So now, we can assume that this yellow diamond is at least like a monarch or a leader.
And going into yellow diamond and the things that BJ was talking about, the theory of multi-monarch, the key reason for this is that there are several images, several iconography things in the series that hint to this. On the ship itself, there are 3 triangular diamond shapes. One is yellow, one is white, and one is blue. And in the ancient Colosseum, where the Homeworld where the rebellion first started, there are actually 4 diamond shapes. Yellow, white, and blue are there, but now there's a pink diamond apparently. And
not to mention, and there was an ancient artifact in a strawberry field that they all went that the gems went to in earlier episodes. It also depicted these colors as well, and then also it still depicted yellow, white, blue, and pink.
As well as the fact that Rose Quartz fought against what appeared to be blue diamond.
So, as far as we're aware, we're not sure yet. Nothing was confirmed, but there is an idea that there's yellow diamond, and then there's also possibly a white and blue diamond somewhere. We're not sure where. and then people are speculating that Rose Quartz herself may not actually be a quartz, but actually a rose diamond. But we're not sure about this.
It would at least explain the fourth pink diamond and why it suddenly seems to have vanished. There are two other theories for its vanishing. One is that pink diamond has died, and the reason I think this theory is not true is that I think yellow diamond is the only diamond left. Mostly because yellow diamond is the only one mentioned, and while one can argue that Jasper and Peridot are directly loyal to yellow diamond, you would think that they would still answer to all the diamonds in this case. But we know Rose Quartz defeated blue diamond, which could have killed it, and we've not figured out anything about this white diamond.
So yeah, so many unanswered questions in this terrific show.
I do.
Yeah.
I am so hoping that Stephen Baum...
you know you have a good show when a question is finally answered, like 5 more pop up.
Yes. Like, we finally find out that Garnet is indeed a fusion. Now we have to wonder why. Who is Ruby and Sapphire? Why did they become a fusion? Why did they love each other? You know, did they always love each other? Were they enemies? Were they allies? Why did they join Rose Quartz? In fact, why did anybody join Rose Quartz?
Hell, in fact, Rose Quartz already foreshadowed that shit. Like, you know, in the most recent Stephen Bomb during the second flashback when Rose and Greg were just talking to each other about their relationship. Greg asks what's going on with Garnet and with this and Pearl, and Rose's only response is that that's 3 really long stories.
Yes, and we even
I want to see more flashbacks.
Yeah,
I just want to see more flashbacks.
We even have at least some explanation for Pearl and Amethyst being loyal to Rose Quartz, but we still do not know why Rose Quartz has Garnet on her side, and we can sort of assume that it ties to the fact that she is Garnet, but to what extent? Like, we see how much Homeworld seems to despise Garnet for what it is. From how Jasper describes her to the way fusions are being treated now. But just how far was Homeworld's hatred of fusions a factor in Garnet becoming one of Rose Quartz's most powerful allies?
Question that hopefully will be answered next week.
Hopefully, because next week I want Lapis to join the fucking team.
It's so hard to say with Lapis, honestly, Kenshi, because it's like, remember, you know, Lapis has her own opinions, and she's stated already multiple times she's had no faith in Earth. So
yes,
she wants nothing to do. She wants nothing to do with Earth. Like, she wants nothing to do with, you know.
One could argue Pearl has
any of these conflicts or anything.
Yes, but let's also point out, Pearl has on multiple occasions made it very clear that she has very little faith in Earth too. She is there because of Rose Quartz.
But she still feels obligated to protect the Earth. So it's like that's why she's still here and everything. I mean, Lapis went out of her way and tried to suck up the ocean to create an interstellar elevator to get back to Homeworld. She gets back to Homeworld and is like, things are different.
And that's exactly why I'm interested in seeing Lapis join. Now she's seen how Homeworld is, she's seen how Homeworld acts, and it's been made very clear, at the very least, Lapis has stronger loyalties to Steven than Homeworld. She may not be interested in Earth, but I could see her very much wanting to be there for Steven, much as Steven seems to have been the only one there for her in these modern times.
Honestly, my biggest fear right now is Jasper just walking out of the ocean with blue shards in her fist.
Yeah, we're all kind of afraid of that. I'm more afraid of Malachite walking out of the ocean, because we don't know what Malachite is like. In fact,
at least if Malachite just jumps out of nowhere, we'll know that Lapis.
I love how you guys can't even pronounce the gem right. It's
Malachite. I don't know why. I keep saying Malachite.
Yeah, I blame.
No, it's Malachite.
Yeah, I blame Kenshi.
Sorry.
If Malachite comes out of the ocean, we'll at least know that we'll at least know that Lapis is still alive and well.
Yeah, literally the last episode that has been aired so far was we did get an update on the situation with Lapis and Jasper, and you know, Lapis is fighting to keep control because, you know, at the end of season 1 when Malachite was formed and everything, Lapis took control to keep herself and Jasper locked away at the bottom of the ocean, and she is fighting to keep control, and we're not, and I mean, it's kind of up in the air right now as to, alright, how long is she gonna last? I mean, it's very because I mean,
it's either one of two questions: how long will the fusion last, or how long will their consciousness last, and before the fusion Malachite takes over, similar to Sugilite.
Yeah,
right,
that's the thing that scares me.
Because I think the last thing that Lapis says, like Steven was trying to figure out, where are you, what's going on, and I think one of the last lines, if not the last thing that Lapis tells Steven is, we are Malachite. So, the Malachite personality seems to be coming forth.
And since Sugilite was already terrifying, and she's just a big beef cake of a gem, Malachite has all of Lapis's power and all of Jasper's strength, plus some. And Lapis's power is terrifying. If Malachite becomes independent of her fusions, it could very well be a very dangerous thing. Like, nothing Homeworld could do could be more dangerous than what Malachite could possibly do to a planet covered in water.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think suffice to say, especially with the end of the latest Steven Bomb, they are building it up. I mean, eventually, we know it's going to happen. We know the gems are going to have to confront Malachite at some point.
I'm kind of hoping for
either they find Malachite, or Malachite rises out of the ocean like Godzilla or something. I mean, we know this confrontation is going to happen. It's just, I guess, a matter of time as to, all right, how soon is this going to happen? Like, are they going to do, is this how season 2 is going to end? Are they going to save this for a later date? It's kind of up in the air right now, but they are building up to it, so we know it's coming.
Well, it seems kind of soon for season 2 to end, because we're only 13 episodes in, with the next 5, bringing it up to 18. Season 1 was 50 episodes long, so...
Yeah, and even if you count the fact that 2 episodes are a standard episode, that's still 25 episodes, and we only got 5. So yeah, we're pretty far. Given the first episode of the Steven Bomb's name has been leaked and the name given, I actually think that the third Steven Bomb will probably have the Malachite issue resolved by the end of it. Whether or not this will mean Lapis or Jasper become allies or run away or whatever becomes of them, it's likely that the Malachite issue will probably be solved. I'm kind of hoping with a Sugilite versus Malachite brawl. Just giant gems.
That actually would be awesome.
Because let's remember, the reason Sugilite was...
Please bring back Nicki Minaj, and please tell me she'll rap during that.
Oh, yeah!
Oh, God! Oh, God!
I am their fury. I am more fury. I'm going to punch you in the face.
Oh my God, that is all we need.
That would be the
we
most
need
amazing thing ever.
Well, let's remember the last time.
You want to see Sugilite rapping Anaconda while fighting?
Oh God, no!
Seriously?
Stop.
Fuck yeah!
No,
Sorry,
that's
Darby,
not
you're a hell of a
appropriate.
girl. I mean, bye.
If we're going to go all out, we might as well have a rapping stupid hoe.
God damn it, Kenshi!
I hate you all.
It's like singing stupid hoe while they're going on Starship.
No, she's just gonna make a whole bunch of references to her songs while punching the frick out of fucking Malachite.
Moving on.
Pound the alarm, boom, boom, just all the punches in her
Come
face.
fill my glass up.
Moving on.
Anyway.
Or we might actually get to see
Moving on.
Alexandrite fight. We actually get to see all 3 of them merge because they need so much firepower. We actually get to see what Alexandrite's weapon would actually be with all 3 of them merged.
They have the power of grounding.
For 1,000 years.
1,000 years, no water bending.
Yeah. It's like, oh, come on.
Oh, man.
It's like, that's not fair. I'm gonna run away.
Taxi!
That taxi, what taxi could fit you?
In which case,
Somebody please make a comic of this.
Alright. I think we've said all we can right now about all the gems. So let's go ahead and move on to some of the side. Actually, well, really, not just all of the side characters. Every single side character in this show, for the most part, is very much reoccurring and very much memorable. So,
I don't remember Yellowtail that much.
Well, let's just start with Lars and Sadie because they're like the two prominent.
Yeah, they're the most common outside of Greg as reoccurring characters.
Yeah, so Lars and Sadie are just two teenage kids. You know, they work at the local donut shop that Steven goes to every day.
Big donut.
Yeah, Lars, you know, he's kind of he's an asshole. You know, he's your typical fuckboy of a teenager. Sadie is she's very sweet, but she's also very strong. You know, she's
the only non-gem to beat the shit out of a gem monster.
Yeah, she's well, not just strong physically. I mean, like she's also, you know, she's pretty. She has a lot of willpower.
Yeah,
like, she's pretty much the one to kind of take things in control. Not she's not a control freak or anything. She's, like I said, she's very sweet. She'll take things in control when things get out of hand.
Oh yes,
I should say. Like she'll step up to the plate when she knows things need to get.
Oh yeah.
And like it's kind of an interesting relationship between the two of them because it's like Sadie has this odd crush on Lars, and Lars, it's so complicated.
Like Sadie had a crush on Lars, but then she sort of did it, but Lars started to get a crush on her. That sums it up the best that anybody can understand, because Sadie clearly stopped being super crushy on Lars after that, but then she did a thing that made Lars start kind of crushing on her.
Yeah, it just keeps going back and forth.
It hasn't gone back and forth. It was just one. It went one way. Now it's kind of going the other.
That's what I meant.
And even then, Lars is very much that kind of guy where it's like he thinks that, you know, impressions are everything. He wants to hang out with the cool crowd. He wants to you know, he's the kind of guy who will blame everything except for himself. Like if something's going on, he'll start whining, going like, "Why is this happening to me? This is your fault." Like that kind of asshole. Like this was our Lars did make for our first time though. We kind of got to see one of Steven's more serious sides because like I said, Lars, you know, he'll blame everything. And it was an episode where Lars wanted to hang out with the cool kids, and Steven actually kind of helped him do that because Steven's, you know, really he's a good kid, and the cool kids were like, you know, cool, we'll let you hang out with us. And but then something regarding one of Rose Quartz's plants happened to all of them, and Lars was first to blame Steven's mother. Like he specifically said, you know, this is all your weird mom's fault. And Steven, you know, he blasted back at Lars saying, "What do you know about my mom? I didn't even get to know my mom."
Yeah.
So yeah, there was a bit of tension there, and let's see what else. What else? Like they've pretty much mostly been. There have been a few episodes like revolving around, you know, Lars and Sadie, you know, being involved in like something that Steven or the Gems are doing, but not that often.
Yeah.
Right.
Like I said, they're mostly side characters, but you know they are reoccurring. Like we see them in almost every episode.
Really, because
Uncle Grandpa did destroy their ship.
Yes, a head cannon destroyed a ship.
Oh, our ship!
It's like, yeah, did we mention, by the way, that Steven Universe crossovered with Uncle Grandpa? And that's probably the funniest fucking episode in the entire series.
I may not see the day when Uncle Grandpa, probably one of the most ridiculous yet I fucking love the kind of cartoon, would cross over with Steven Universe of all things.
I may not care for the cartoon Uncle Grandpa myself. I gave it a chance. I really just didn't like it. But yeah, that episode was so like, because I know like Rebecca Sugar and then I forget the name of Uncle Grandpa's creator, but apparently they were actually students together at the same school.
Yeah.
So they actually got. Yeah, so Rebecca actually got the idea, hey, let's do a crossover. It won't be canon, but it'll be funny as hell for an April Fool's joke.
Yeah, so this is something they wanted.
Grandpa himself that the whole thing wasn't canon. It's like, no, don't worry, this episode isn't canon. But
well, no, he doesn't say episode, he just says none of this, you know.
But yeah, you know, it's just kind of cute and funny, because it's like, you know.
It's the same thing.
But regardless, it was just funny because, you know, it was such a funny episode. There were tons of jokes in it, and it was like, you can tell they were just doing this to have fun. And then, of course, you know, you got your hardcore Steven Universe fans that felt like, oh my god, this is a complete betrayal of the show and everything, to the point where the creators in the show, like, using the characters in the show, basically had to tell the fans, guys, calm your tits. We're just having fun here.
Yeah, no kidding.
There were some really great moments, though. Pearl had some of the best moments ever.
Oh god, Pearl was so fucking neurotic in that episode. It was great.
That's not my baby.
Or when their heads came off. Can we talk about when their heads came off and everyone's reaction? Garnet just shivers. Pearl has a freaking panic attack.
And Amethyst is like, my head's on backwards.
I need to find that clip now. Hang on a second.
Well, listen.
Also, if we can all take a moment of silence for Pizza Steve.
No, don't eat Pizza Steve.
I said a moment of silence. Why are you all laughing? It's tragic.
Pizza.
And you're still going.
He's like, okay, I'm ready for this episode to end.
I was recording. I don't give a shit.
I don't really care about Pizza Steve. I would have eaten him too.
See,
and then
Kenshi gets it.
And then Amethyst just takes his glasses and just goes.
Yeah, I love that. She just wears his deal with it shades. That episode was so self-aware, it almost counted as an AI.
It even brought in the idea of gem sonas. That's what caught me off guard even more.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
Holy shit, they're already aware of it.
I wonder how many in this room have a gem sona?
No.
Am I the only
Not
one?
me.
I'm the only one? Really?
Yeah, you are the only one.
You're the odd one out.
I'm the odd one out. I feel I don't know if I should feel proud or sad.
Anyway, so
But
there was that hilarious episode.
Yeah, that was a funny episode, but it's like, I guess,
Okay,
like,
aside from Lars and Sadie, we also mentioned
and
the
Uncle
cool
Grandpa.
kids.
You know, it's like, I don't care if it's not canon, Uncle Grandpa is a fucking side character to the Steven Universe now.
Anyway, there were also the cool kids we also mentioned. Those take place in the form of there's Buck Dewey, who's the son of the mayor of the town. Oh wait, yeah, was it Buck Dewey or yeah. It was Buck Dewey because his father's name was Bill Dewey. Buck and Bill, get it? $, ha ha ha. Politics. Anyway.
Wow, really?
Anyway, there's Sour Cream. Yeah, that's his name, Sour Cream. And then there's Jenny, who is a twin daughter of the pizza shop owner. I actually really like these characters, because they're your generic teenagers, but at the same time they're so likable. Because here's the thing, most teenagers anyway you see nowadays who want to hang out with kids, like little kids, they only want to hang out with them ironically or just to make fun of them. No, these cool kids, Sour Cream, Buck, and Jenny, they genuinely like Steven. They want to hang out with Steven. And after all the shit went down with Peridot and Jasper and all that, they notice that Steven's been stressing out. They see he's been working so hard at doing what he's doing. So they take him along on a joyride, and even after some shit went down, because they find Peridot's escape pod. And even though Steven trying to be responsible, he wants to take it back to the gem so he can show it to them, so they know where Peridot, they can find where Peridot is. The teenagers are just like, no, let's have some fun first. You need to relax. You need to unwind. And that does eventually lead to some danger happening because the pod activates and almost kills the kids. And the gems show up and almost kill Steven because they didn't know he was inside of it. They thought it was Peridot. And almost any other teenager I could think of, the moment they would just run away. But no, they stayed and tried helping Steven, because even Jenny, who, Garnet was so close to destroying the pod with Steven still in it, Jenny got right in front of Garnet's fist and risked almost getting punched by Garnet, which I'm pretty sure would have resulted in a fatality.
Yeah.
I could have started...
It's Garnet wins fatality.
If that actually happened, I could have inserted like a Mortal Kombat fatality clip, and it still would have been appropriate. But no, they stayed, and then even after when they told him Steven's in there, don't do it. So and the gems started scolding Steven, but the teenagers so stuck up for him. They said he's just a kid. He needs to unwind. You guys are being too rough on him, and then right after that, Garnet ungrounded Steven from TV. So I just like those teenagers so much. They're so cool. I really do. They're so likable.
Yeah.
And yeah, of course, they're teenagers. They still make mistakes. We've seen plenty of times where they've done some shit before. Even Buck with the T-shirt episode. But they're still likable characters.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's like, speaking of Buck, like with the T-shirt episode, he's like, he saw like this drawing that Steven did for Greg, because Greg wanted to, offer guitar lessons, so Steven's like, oh, okay, I'll make the poster for it, and Buck's like, oh, okay, let's print this out on T-shirts. But he was using Steven's drawing, like, he's saying, oh, we're doing it to create art, and everybody was, laughing because, about, like, how piss poor the, drawing was. They're saying, oh, it's so funny and everything. Like, he basically took Steven's drawing and turned it into something completely different. And Steven basically got back at him with a drawing that Buck did when he was a kid of, elect my dad as mayor. And, Buck pretty much saw the error of his ways and everything. And the way he repaid Steven, he went to get guitar lessons from Greg.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, that was so cute.
And, speaking of Buck's dad, Bill Dewey, the mayor, like, it's so weird, because, like, Bill is portrayed as such a stereotypical politician. Like, like, he only cares about, like, it seemed like he only cared about, like, the well-being of the economics of the city.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Basically think like the mayor from Nightmare Before Christmas, I'm only an elected official, I can't make decisions by myself.
Yeah, and like, but here's the thing with Bill. He is a little more understanding is the thing. Cause like there was an episode right during the Steven bomb where, during that power outage that Danny mentioned like 50 hours ago.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
Bill,
the tall one, the little one, and the hot one.
Yeah. Bill lied to the people of the city, saying, "Oh, we're working on it the best we can to get the power back on." And when it eventually didn't come back on, people started rioting about it. But Bill's logic was, I need to tell them these lies, otherwise they're going to go into a panic and things are going to get out of hand. And ultimately, he was right, because when the power didn't come back on, the people of Beach City were they were almost rioted before Steven stood up for Bill and tried to and told him he lied to you because he cares about you. And it was ultimately that kind of idea. Steven kind of figured out that that's what the mayor was doing, and he figured, oh, that's what the gems are doing for me. They're lying to me about what's going on because they want to protect me. They don't want me to be scared. But even after that, once the gem invaders did come, to Earth in the giant hand ship, Steven, he called the mayor saying, "Bill, okay, Mayor Dewey, I need you to evacuate the city. These aliens are coming, and they're going to probably destroy things." And I was so ready to expect Mayor Dewey try to come up with some excuse, going like, "Oh no, it's fine, it's okay, everything will be all right. You guys will take care of it." No, he was very cooperative. He actually said he actually got the city to evacuate. He was very cooperative about it, and that actually surprised me. I really liked that.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, so let's see. We talked about Lars and Sadie, we talked about the cool kids, we talked about the mayor.
How about Onion?
Oh god, Onion.
The creature that not even Steven is sure if he's human.
Can we skip Onion?
No, we can't skip Onion.
I mean, honestly, what is there to say about Onion? That
he's like this.
He's a kleptomaniac little shit.
There really isn't much to say about Onion, just because we don't know that much about him.
The whole
and the series refused to give
us
information about him.
Yeah, wait until next week. Spoilers. But the whole gimmick with Onion is the fact that he's this kid. He does not talk. Like, not even, like, grunts or anything. Like, you ask him a question, he just stares with this, like, blank, vacant look in his eyes. And it's like... But it's like, outside of that, like, you also see him doing other shit, too. Like, you actually see, like, he's, like, in the arcades, and he's breaking into the machines to get the tokens. He'll take things from other people without even asking. It's like,
he's a little klepto.
Yeah, he's a little shit. But it's just...
But you know what? Even though there may not be that much to say regarding Onion, why don't we talk about his family history real quick?
Yeah, so apparently... Okay, so Onion, we know he has a dad named Yellowtail, and his dad is a fisherman. We also know that he has a stepbrother, or half-brother, stepbrother, I think, actually.
We find out in the Cool Kids episode.
Yeah, is Sour Cream the stepbrother or half-brother?
We don't know yet. All we know for sure is we find out in the Cool Kids episode that Sour Cream mentions how he has a stepfather who is a fisherman, and he actually and he was trying to mimic his stepfather, and it was Yellowtail. So we know for sure that Sour Cream is Yellowtail's stepson, which makes Onion and Sour Cream and Onion related somehow.
Yeah, probably stepbrothers.
But we also know for sure that Onion is in fact Yellowtail's son.
Yeah,
like full son. So we mentioned before, like a long time ago, regarding Greg's old manager Marty. Now we saw after when Greg was first telling Steven about his concert.
Yeah, like when he first met Rose.
Yeah, like we see, he goes into the back of his van to get a bigger shirt for Rose, and out comes Marty with this girl around his shoulders because they probably did something back there, and they probably made a little sour cream, if you know what I mean.
Shut up, BJ.
It's like all over the t-shirt.
This girl was named Vidalia. Now,
get it?
Well, I actually didn't at first. I didn't know what a Vidalia was, and it wasn't until later when I found out a Vidalia is a type of onion.
Vidalia onions.
And if you look at Marty and like his complexion and how he looks, and compare him to Sour Cream, they look so alike.
So it's like, oh my God, Sour Cream was conceived in Greg's van.
So as far as we're aware, because Marty did leave Beat City after Greg ditched him. So as far as we're aware, hopefully not Greg. Marty impregnated Vidalia with Sour Cream, and then he left, and then later on, Vidalia had Sour Cream, so she was a single mother, and probably until later on when she married Yellowtail, and then later on either... Actually, you know what? I want to say that they probably are half-brothers. Because why would his name be Onion and then Vidalia be, a type of onion if Onion ended up being a stepson? That'd be so fucking coincidental.
Yeah, but it's Steven Universe, that kind of shit happens.
I'm just gonna assume that Onion and Sour Cream are half brothers. So
yeah, that's where it's like, we're not quite sure, like stepbrothers, half brothers. At this point, I don't think it really matters.
All we know is that they're at least somewhat related.
Yeah.
So that's that funny little quirk. I still remember at MomoCon when we showed Russell that video or that episode. I mean, Russell was so baffled by that. Like it actually freaked him out. Like I had to stop the episode. I had to pause the episode to explain it.
I remember that. Right when he found out, Brandon just had the most shocked look on his face and just walked out.
Why didn't you record that shit, Ryan, by the way?
I thought I did.
Did you?
I thought I did.
Well, maybe when you upload that MomoCon montage, then we'll know. Anyway.
yeah, maybe.
Well, I guess in terms of other side characters, who else? Like, there's Mr. Smiles, there's Jamie the Mailman. Really not much else. Like, I suppose Jamie did have that one episode that was really funny that Garnet brought up, like, there is no such thing as love at first sight, you gotta know the person. That was a pretty sweet episode, but aside from that, I think we're pretty much done. Like, is there anything else?
Not really. I think we've covered just about everything up till next week.
Yeah, like, Jamie pretty much only had that one episode in the spotlight, but really there wasn't much context to go. You pretty much just did the consensus of what that episode was about involving Jamie. So
in 3 seconds.
I mean, pretty much. I mean, you said it right there. Like you said the ending note right there. So it's like not really much to go on that one.
All right. Well, final thoughts.
Well, let's see.
If you have not seen this show, for the love of God, watch it.
Do yourself, you know what? Do yourself a favor and do the show a favor, because this show, so many times, even right now, is so threatened on getting canceled. And you know why? Because of Cartoon Network's bullshit.
What?
Because Cartoon Network's always had this bullshit mentality where it's like, oh, we need to sell for boys. These TV shows need to be making toys that boys buy.
Oh, for God's sake!
So because girls are also watching the show, even though Rebecca Sugar has already stated that the show is for everybody, Cartoon Network is constantly, giving it less airtime, and less airtime means more likely to get canceled. So show the show your support. Watch it on Cartoon Network when you can, even if it's the only show make it the only show you watch.
Literally set your DVR.
Hold on, I have to ask: Are they already selling like DVDs of the show?
Yes.
They've
Well,
got
well, in
they've,
that
they've
case,
got
do
the
it. For that matter, support the official release. Buy the DVDs and merch and stuff.
yeah. I think they've only got the first season on DVD right now.
Not even the first season. Like only like 15 episodes of it, and
But
they're
it's
not
still out
even
there.
in order. Like I have it, but they're not even in order.
Well, even
Well,
so,
to be fair, the
I would
first
imagine-
15 episodes-
Still buy it.
Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah.
say at least it's still going towards like the creator herself and everyone else
And
a part of it.
you know what? I gotta go to like Toys R Us or something tomorrow because I have not seen a single like toy or merc of Steven Universe at all.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
it's-
how
I mean,
is-
I can
even
only,
even
I can
when
only
we
imagine that.
even when we were at MomoCon, because
Yeah, I was
MomoCon was held in the CNN Center. And the CNN Center, like with Atlanta, Georgia and everything, Atlanta is where William Street is. So that's where Adult Swim, Toonami, Cartoon Network, that's where they're at. So in the CNN Center, like right by the food courts, they actually have a Cartoon Network store. And I mean, you can easily tell because you've got a giant lady Rainicorn right at the entrance. So
Yeah.
we went in the store, and I mean, yeah, they sell all kinds of merchandise and stuff. I mean, it's like they sold Teen Titans merchandise, they had Adventure Time merchandise, they had like, I saw some things with Uncle Grandpa, absolutely no Steven Universe stuff. Like the only
Yeah,
Steven
so-
Universe related things we could find at MomoCon was at the Artist Alley, and half
Yeah, the
half of
fan made stuff.
Yeah, half of the things in the Artist Alley was Steven Universe stuff. And I mean, like, I bought some buttons and everything. Like, BJ...
I got a cool little-
Yeah, BJ got a cool little bookmark. I bought some pretty buttons. There were tons of posters and everything. So, I mean, it's really sad that if Cartoon Network's really pushing this whole merchandise thing, and yet, even in, like, a store... Like, they don't even make merchandise. Like, you want Steven Universe merchandise, you gotta go to the fans at an anime convention to get merchandise for it.
Or
But
Etsy.
didn't we see some Steven Universe cosplayers at the convention?
We saw tons of Steven
But
Universe
I saw
cosplayers.
that's
Opal
still-
at
That's
Phoenix
still
Comic
only
Con.
fan stuff.
No, but regardless of that should give the audience, like our viewers, like another idea of how well loved and supported that this show is. And again,
Yeah,
if you guys
it's well
have not
loved and
seen,
supported.
and again,
but
if you guys have not-
but Russell, cosplays won't financially support it. They'll spread the
I get
word.
it, but it still supports it.
Regardless, support the show. Go watch it. You'll love it.
Yeah,
Trust me.
yeah, like I was gonna say. I mean, it's like regardless, even if it doesn't like financially help.
Like, you know what? Even Sophia, come here.
Oh, God. For
are
Final
you
Thoughts,
doing?
this is running pretty dang long.
And here's our next guest commentator.
I'm going to say this while BJ's busy trying to get his sister. I don't think Cartoon Network really cares. They're not going to make merchandise because they don't like it. They obviously want it to fail. That's the whole point. That's why they're trying to sabotage it, despite the fact that it has 3 lined up seasons already. Because Cartoon Network is behind the times. And they don't realize they're behind the times. They think that they're still ahead of the curve, but they don't get that they're sabotaging themselves.
Sophia,
All right.
hold on. Sophia, tell the audience. You just started watching Steven Universe recently, right?
Yes.
What did you think of the show before that?
I thought it was terrible.
You thought it was terrible. What did you see? What did you see before? What did you see before that?
What do you mean?
Like, what did you see before you actually started watching it? Like, what did you actually know about it?
Oh, I just saw him do something really stupid.
Okay, now that you actually, so you started watching it how long ago?
2 nights ago?
2 nights ago. And how many episodes have you seen since then?
20.
20. Go watch the rest of it. You'll love it. Try. but wait, the point that I brought you here. What do you think of the show now, though?
Good.
It's good. How good?
It's good.
I hate you, Sophia.
Come on.
Sabotage.
What do you want her to say? It's good. That's about as good as it gets.
she came to me the other night telling me it was great. Like, I don't know what she's... Fuck.
Well, yeah, but this is
Sabotage.
after she...
It's like,
You're putting
God's
it on the
oh,
spot
God.
there, jackass.
It's like, yeah, sniped by BJ's sister.
I hate everything now.
But again, well, like
But-
I was
okay,
saying,
but,
like I was saying earlier, like even if the show is not financially supported for whatever bullshit reason, it's still very much well supported by the fans, whether you be at conventions with the fan-made merchandise or the cosplay that people work so hard to do to support the show. Like, again, and this is just directed to our audience, like, just to show and prove how well supported the show is, in other terms aside from the natural way. If you haven't seen this show yet, yeah, just, what are you doing? Like, go watch Steven Universe go watch it right now. Like,
all
stop.
right.
Yeah,
Cartoon
and if you-
all right,
yeah.
Cartoon Network, look, let's be real here. The fans like Steven Universe more than your Amazing World of Gumball. Okay, seriously.
In fact, you know what? You show, you know, fuck Teen Titans Go for one thing. That show is just fucking terrible.
Just
Yeah,
what the fuck?
Yeah,
What the fuck?
They love Teen Titans Go, but they hate Steven Universe. That's a little.
If this doesn't show you how backwards minded Cartoon Network is, because Teen Titans Go is an insult to Teen Titans.
I think Teen Titans Go is okay.
It's not.
It's not.
It's just not.
I mean, I love the.
You don't get it when it comes to Teen Titans Go. You don't get.
No,
anything.
I love the original Teen Titans. Don't get me wrong, but I thought
Yeah,
Teen Titans Go was okay.
the original, because the original Teen Titans was a great. You know what? We're getting off track. Steven Universe. Anyway.
Actually, you know what? That brings me to a point. There's one thing a lot of people don't do when they say you should watch this, and that's give something to compare. If you liked Teen Titans, if you like Adventure Time, if you like My Little Pony, if you like any of these shows or all of them, I highly recommend Steven Universe, because it's going to appeal to you in every sense of the word if you like those types of shows.
True enough.
It's got
the same kind of narrative, if anything.
I would compare it mostly to Teen Titans, but I like all three
Teen
of these
Titans,
shows.
not Go. Teen Titans.
Yeah, the original Teen Titans, because it has it does the same mix of, there are one-shot episodes that really don't do anything, but they're still cool and funny, and then there are episodes that have a plot that lead on. There are episodes that are mostly comedy, but they have some serious moments, and then there's some serious episodes that have some comedic moments. It really does feel like it was inspired by Teen Titans in a lot of ways, with how well it's paced.
Right.
They're also both anime as fuck.
Wait, what? Steven Universe?
Yes, have you seen the anime references?
Oh, dude.
Hell, you know what?
No.
You know what? One thing we completely failed to mention: the inspiration that a lot of the animation and techniques that Steven Universe like. What was the name of the show that you love so much that Steven Universe borrowed from? Danny?
Oh, the anime?
Yeah.
Oh, my all-time favorite anime, Revolutionary Girl Utena. Huge influence. Like, Rebecca Sugar has come forward and said that was a major influence. In fact, like, if you watch the episode Steven the Sword Fighter, several of Pearl's sword fighting moves ripped directly from Utena.
So yeah.
Well, plus, have you seen how fast Garnet punches? You know what? Every time I see Garnet throws those punches like crazy, I'm telling you, I'm pretty sure another anime influence that Steven Universe has: JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Stardust Crusaders. Seriously, Garnet is Star Platinum.
I know. You know what's funny? I was just thinking that. I thought that when I saw Garnet fighting herself.
Yes.
Oh, another. Yeah, it's like. I might have missed this, but I still love like the other like I don't want to say memes, but like other referential things of the internet that they put in Steven Universe. Like I like how in like one episode, like it's very off-putting. Like you only see it for like half a second, but I like how there's like an N64 like where Steven is, and like there's even like pictures of like Sonic Cloud.
Yeah, Sonic. Yeah, they reference Sonic, Final Fantasy VII, Guitar Man, Sailor Moon,
Animal Crossing,
Animal Crossing, The Legend of Zelda, Nintendo.
Yeah, it's like it's
oh
very
god,
Super Smash Bros.
Yeah, Smash Brothers. Yeah, you actually saw Steven and Uncle Grandpa playing Smash Brothers.
Yeah, it's like, again, you only see those things for like half a second, but it's like I love how they still bring those into play.
Yeah, Chrono Trigger.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chrono Trigger got a massive homage.
In the form of Hoppy or Hopper.
Yeah, there was
Hoppy or Hopper with the frog.
Yeah, there was a character that was a direct reference of Frog from Chrono Trigger.
Yeah, well, I know the name of the character. I'm talking about the frog character in Steven Universe. It was Hoppy or Hopper.
Oh.
I think Hopper.
I think Gardy even mixes up their names.
Yeah, I think that's the joke too.
Yeah.
God damn it.
But yeah, it's like they've referenced that. They've referenced Dragon Ball Z, of course. It's like, oh god, there's so many video game and anime references in this show, and they're really subtle too. I mean, it's one of those things like you gotta have like a quick eye to really pick them all up. But man, when you do, it's like it's heaven.
Yes.
Like, they're aware of the internet.
It's like Danny said at the beginning. Sugar Mama here. She made this show for every. Yeah, I'm calling her Sugar Mama now. She made this show. she made this show for everybody. Like, for little kids can enjoy it. It's fun for little kids to get into. But there's all these nostalgic nods for even like people like for us to get into as well.
Yeah.
Aside from the plot being great.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
This
so
definitely feels like a show. I feel like this show is coming out the right time because what's funny is that a lot of the people who are catching these references are just old enough to start having kids of their own, and their kids are starting to get to the age where they're watching cartoons like Adventure Time and Steven Universe.
yeah.
So actually, this makes a lot of sense, and it really does feel like I feel like it does the designed for kids, but is also for everyone thing a little bit better than Lauren Faust did with My Little Pony, and that's coming from somebody who is an admitted brony. Because it does feel like it's for kids. Kids can love this. Kids can get some really deep messages out of this without being hammered in the head. But the references are aimed just perfectly towards the generation that their parents would be.
Right. It was kind of like I said from the very beginning. I mean, it's like, there's nothing wrong with liking kids shows or anything. I mean, we do kid crap all the time. And it's like, whether you like My Little Pony or not is irrelevant. At the end of the day, the show was and always has been and always will be primarily geared for little girls specifically. Steven Universe is that, and that's where Rebecca Sugar said she's aiming this for everybody. She doesn't care if it's kids, adults, boys, girls, doesn't matter. She just wants to entertain everybody.
She wants to. She's aiming it for nerds, and it's amazing.
A nerd making for nerds what nerds have always wanted to make for nerds.
Yes,
And
exactly.
Yeah, so I think for the most part this kind of brings an end to this discussion, but now regarding next week, because as we said, the third Steven Bomb begins next Monday, and it goes like every Monday, like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. BJ, was it 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time? Like 5 or 6?
That's what it usually was. Yeah, it was 6 p.m. Eastern Standard. That's what it usually was. I don't know if they're gonna change it. Like I doubt they will.
Okay.
I'll keep an eye on Cartoon Network to see when it's gonna advertise.
Yeah. So if you guys if you're keeping up with the show and everything, great. If not, I would actually recommend go online. You can easily find the episodes. These are 15-minute episodes.
11.
So,
Actually.
Regardless.
Well, 15 if you counted the ads that they would have.
Yeah, regardless, they are very, very quick to go through. So, if you like what you hear, by all means, watch the show, what's been out so far, and that way you'll be caught up for next Monday for the next Steven Bomb. And like we said, we are going to do a discussion video next week, but it's going to be specifically geared to these 5 new episodes that we're getting. Now, I think because these episodes come out later at night, because you guys know, we usually upload our stuff in the morning or roughly around noon or something, kind of like in the middle of the day is when we get our stuff uploaded.
Yeah.
Because the Steven Bomb is going to be coming out later at night, I guess either expect the Friday discussion to be coming out very late at night, or possibly maybe even later than that, maybe Saturday or something.
I'll try my best to make sure that it's out on Friday.
Right, but it's
the key thing is
it's all of us getting together, recording, getting it to you, so you can edit it and put it all together. So I mean, it's I know we usually don't upload anything over the weekends because that is our break, but if we have to, then we'll upload it on Saturday, and that'll be considered our Friday discussion.
I'll pitch an idea about this after the video, after we finish recording today.
Yeah, but, as far as discussions go, expect that next week. We will specifically be talking about the next Steven Bomb.
Though, actually, you know what? Why don't we, before we do end this off, Danny, why don't we give, for the audience, go ahead and leave now if you don't want it. But why don't we give the audience a quick preview of each of the 5 titles for this Steven Bomb.
Yeah, let me pull up.
Cool, because I actually have only heard one.
Yeah, they've got the 5 titles. Hell, we've got descriptions of 2 of the episodes.
Only give the titles. That's all we need.
Okay, but let me if Wikipedia will fucking load for me.
Be sure to leave the video now. Anyway, be sure to leave the video now if you don't want to know what the titles of the videos are or what they're about.
Alrighty. So next Monday, we will have Cry for Help. Next Tuesday will be Keystone Motel. Next Wednesday is Onion Friend. Next Thursday is Historical Friction. And next Friday is Friendship.
All of those titles terrify me.
Oh, Lord. So, I don't know which one scares me more, Mondays or Wednesdays.
Ironically, Kenshi, on Wiki, those are the only 2 episodes that even have a description as to what we can expect.
Oh, God.
Oh, shit.
Do you want me to spoil?
No,
not in recording.
We'll save it. We'll save it for after the recording.
Okay.
Yes. All right.
Well, I think that about does it. So, thank you all for joining us in this 50,000-hour long rant.
Thanks.
Anyway.
Yep, we will see you all next week for some more Steven Universe goodness.
Yes, we are the SpiffyNeedleGeeks plus a Kenshi. We will see you all next time.
Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoy.
I will become one of the Spiffy Noodles. Just watch.
Anyway.
I will kill one of you and take your skin.
Thank you all for watching.
Oh my God, Kenshi's a scroll.
Thank you all for watching. We hope you all enjoyed the video.
I will do my best to make sure Russell doesn't.
And as always, we will see you.